Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to spend part of your Sunday, June 16th, 2024 with me. I'm sorry I'm late, but I was over with Natalie, the lawyer chick, and we have been trying for so long to get together and do a dual stream or a stream together. And so I went on her channel at 5:30 and we were at a very, very important part of the show. And I couldn't just jump and come back because I was there. But now I'm here and I didn't want to pull her viewers away. So I didn't even say that I was coming here, but I'm here and I'm here and you guys were waiting for me. And I thank you so, so, so much. And for all of you who sent me your kind, concerned emails on Friday saying, I hope you're okay. We missed you today. We hate watching at other places where they don't stop the stream and they talk over the people and where are you? And we hope you're safe. And for those of you who don't know, I was in the courtroom on Friday at the Karen Reed trial. And for many, many, many reasons, it needed to be top secret until the very last minute. So nobody knew I was coming except for those who invited me. And Mark Betterow knew because he was also going to be there. So we were both there together and it was wild and it was crazy. And I just muted myself. It was incredible. And you are all incredible. And I met so many lovely people and so many supporters. And what an amazing group of people you are. It was otherworldly. I mean, I hate the word surreal. And I hate that word, so I don't like to use it. So I'm not going to use it. But what's a word that is kind of like surreal, but in a really good way? So nobody knew I was coming. I went with Karen's cousin, Kelly, and Mark Betterow. And we showed up and we got out of the car and the supporters knew that Mark Betterow was going to be there. So everyone saw Mark. And then I walked over with Kelly and it was crazy. It was crazy. And you guys had, just the kindest things to say. It was really overwhelming. The amount of love and kindness that was there was really overwhelming. And Brian at LTL didn't even know I was coming. And I was going to tell him the night before because I know he's local. And he was on the air with Brandy and I can't recall who, but I didn't want to tell him. So I showed up and he was there and he captured it all on video. So let's take a look at his video because it was really kind of cool. And I got to meet Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, and they were so kind. And we had lunch together and we talked about the case. And I got to meet Karen and I got to meet her parents, who are really the loveliest people I've ever met in my entire life. They are parents of the year, as far as I'm concerned. And, people talk a lot about these protesters being outside, and they're not protesters. They're supporters. They are supporters. They are there to support Karen and her family through this very, very horrific ordeal. And, people try and spin it a different way. And these people don't know Karen Reed. They don't know her family. These people travel from everywhere. I met people from England. I met people from hours and hours away. And then when I left after the court day was over, so many more people showed up and they said it was to meet me, which I was blown away by. I've never in my life had anybody to ask me to take a picture with me. And I think I took maybe at least maybe 100 pictures with people. It was crazy. It was crazy. These are supporters. They are not protesters. I have never seen a case where people come out to support a defendant. And these people, I had women coming over to me who started crying as they were telling me their story, that, I grew up here and this is devastating to me and I can't believe what's happening to her. And I don't even know her, and tears. Like it was genuinely, there was so much love there. I can't even find the words to describe it. People brought me gifts. I got cupcake candles and another cupcake candle. And then when they found out I was there, and cards and beautiful Judy, Joan, you guys are just lovely children who wanted to take pictures of me because their parents say that they're allowed to watch my show because I don't curse. I mean, it was things like this is from Judy. Me and my husband are big fans. Thanks for all you do. Look, cards. I mean, the outpouring of love is great. Somebody gave me a cupcake in a jar. I think her name was Joan, and she gave me a cupcake in a jar and more cards and just like, thank you for believing in Karen and for seeking justice for Officer John O'Keefe. That was from Angela. You guys are unbelievable. And, they had a pickup truck out there and they it's not like really like tailgating because nobody's drinking, but they bring coffee and donuts in the morning and they just, they sit around, they have their laptops out. And I'm told that I'm on one TV, maybe sometime, or one laptop, and maybe the glare is on the other laptop or court TV, or I don't know. But it was overwhelming, but in like the best possible way. And I had been invited to go, weeks ago, and I was tossing it around, and I really, didn't want to, I didn't want to, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't want to, pull focus. I didn't want to be attacked. I didn't want to be, put into a bad situation. And, by the time last Friday rolled around, I'm like, I have to go. I have to go because I felt like it was going to be over soon. I think many people thought this was going to be over, weeks ago, or something was going to happen, or, Marcy would grow a pair and come in and say, listen, I'm just got to dismiss these charges because there's no evidence, but we haven't seen that happen yet. And, so I felt like it was now or never. And so I tried to keep it top secret until the last minute, traveling with my own security detail, as some of you may have seen. But I am not 7 feet tall. I am 5'7", with 3-inch heels. So I happen to be taller than some of the people I'm photographed with, but I am not 7 feet tall. So we can put that rumor to rest. Hello, Will. Hi, Glare. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have been there on the same day. I'd love to meet you too. But people think we all know each other. And I just went on Natalie's show for the first time, and I had never met Natalie before, but when I saw her reactions to this case, and I've been following Natalie for a long time, I always thought she was really genuine and just so kind and just like a nice person. And I saw Kurt from Uncivil Law on her channel one day, sort of turning her on to the whole case with the opening statements. And it was like a reaction because Kurt on Civil had already seen the openings, and he went on Natalie's show, I think, to watch her reactions to it. And, she had some really visceral reactions to David Unetti's opening when he was talking about, the proctor, what he was looking for on Karen's phone and the things that he called her. And her reactions were so genuine and so visceral that I'm like, I have to collaborate with this woman. I mean, she's a public defender. That's what she does for a living every single day. And she's horrified by this case too. So, it's bringing a lot of the right people together, I think. And I think the reason there's so much vitriol here is because there are a lot of people who could be potentially looking at going to jail, and they will do anything to try and silence anyone who may be effective in pointing out the flaws in the prosecution's case and the flaws and the lack of an investigation altogether. So, okay, go ahead. You want to attack me? Attack me. I don't care. I don't care. I'm an old lady. I don't care. Yeah, I have wrinkles. They're right here. So, I've been practicing law for 30 years. Do the math. I'm not 35. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So it's like, oh, disgusting. It's just so disgusting. And you notice it's all women that are attacking other women because, that's what they do because they have nothing else to do. So this is kind of cool. Here's some photos. I told you guys just to send me some photos. Oh, Kelly's going to be my best friend forever now. We met. And Kelly, this is Kelly, Reed Karen's cousin. Thank you. She says, thank me. We appreciate you. And we're so glad you could experience our amazing supporters. Yeah. I mean, you weren't kidding. Kelly, thank you for your hospitality and your kindness. And it was just, I think this is going to be, it's going to be historic. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the experience of being there and being able to see it, there's nothing that can compare to that. This is somebody posted this on Canton Community Voices, I guess, has a video YouTube page. And here, I don't know if you guys can name who this is in the in the picture with me, dressed up like Auntie Beth. And apparently, somebody told me that Madam Court Reporter walks by them on her way to her car in the afternoon and is like, laughing and just, there's just so much love there. It's hard to describe. It's like people call it a movement. What did I just do? I just did something. I don't know. And it really is. It's a movement for people who are fed up and are watching this unfold, and the world is watching, and they're mad. They're mad that something like this could be allowed to happen in this country in which we live. And rightly so. And the rest of the world is looking at us and looking at our judicial system and saying, like, what in the hell is going on over there in the US? What is going on? Here's a picture with me and Peter Murphy, who was a sergeant at Canton PD for 35 years. And he is retired now, and he is outraged. He's outraged, along with so many of you that are local. And that was a fun picture. And then, there's a picture with Michelle. Hold on. Another, another viewer who I had never met, but is like so sweet. Michelle, if I can find your picture, I'm going to put it up here. How did you send it to me? I think it was Insta. And I was so glad that Brian was there to capture this on video. So I'm going to show that to you also after we go from that to here. See if I can pull this one up for you. Hi, Michelle, if you're watching. And here's Michelle. And I think she's there a lot. She seems to be a regular. And how sweet. How sweet. Let's take a look at Brian has a video, and he cut it down. It's 2 minutes and 27 seconds of Mark and I meeting Alan and David Yannetti for the first time. Let me pull that for you. Thanks, Brian, for taking this video and memorializing this moment for me and everybody else who cares to see it. Here we go. LTL, go subscribe to his channel. This is the team pulling up, the dream team.
You may know this guy.
That's Kelly. There's Tom CPU.
Good, how are you today?
Morning, Mr. Jackson.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Nice to see you.
Everybody
Good
good?
morning. Yeah.
She's great.
Alan, this is Melanie.
Hi,
Little.
Melanie. How are
David,
you?
this is Melanie
Nice to
Little.
meet you. Nice to meet
And I
you.
believe
I've
Mark
been a
Federer.
fan of your work.
Really?
That's a very special skill.
Did you hear that we went to Mexico together?
Apparently so. Apparently
Did you
so.
have a great time?
Did you have a good time?
I mean, come on.
I must have had a good time. Yeah, right.
It's an honor.
Thank
So,
you.
oh no, it is my honor.
Yeah,
really.
let me tell you, my sister and my mother
Fantastic.
watch you religiously. They love you. They were going to be here today only because you were here, and my mom was a little under the weather, so that's why they're not coming. But thank you. You've been fantastic.
So have you.
Yeah.
Trust me,
Thank
it's
you
all
so
you.
much.
And
Thank
David,
you. How are you?
I'm Christy Young. How are you? I'm friends with Lindsay.
There's Mark Betterow.
I watch almost none of it. But whenever I do have a moment and I can watch something, you're usually the guy I appreciate it. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. You have been fantastic. Smart and incisive. And, very much appreciate your commentary.
Happy to see it in person. So, yeah, that's great. That's great. It's actually educational for us as well. Because you don't.
And there's my favorite guy, Craig, in the back.
Get up
The AV guy.
You just tell it how
Balls and
it is.
strikes.
Yeah, exactly. And that gives me some insight on what we could be doing better, how we could, so back to the things we're doing. Could we be pivoting a little bit stronger on this point or make less of a point on that point? So it's actually quite educational.
I appreciate it, but I don't think you guys need much help.
Oh, I know. Well, it makes me want to cry too. It was I don't know if you could hear what they were saying to Mark, but they said, we really love your commentary because it really helps us, you call balls and strikes and it helps us figure out, what we could do differently, what we could do. I don't know, something like that. But it was really an incredible to be a part of history like that, and just from speaking my thoughts, quite frankly, and calling it out the way I see it. Oh, Mark Betterow just sent me a cool picture. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very, very cool. So we we walked into the courthouse with the team, and Mark and I were in the front row, and I was sitting behind Craig, who sits at the little TV table. He's the defense's AV squad. And I was sitting, Karen's friend was sitting next to me. She's there every single day in the front row. And Karen's parents were then next to her. And then Mark sat on the other end, which was closer to the podium where the attorneys speak from. And we got in there. First, we went into like a different courtroom. And the way that they treat the Reed family, I can't speak to how they treat the O'Keefe family, but I'm going to assume it's very similar, is that, they're very respectful. They usher Karen and her team in to the courthouse and into another courtroom until they're allowed to go up to the other courtroom. And when I went into the first courtroom, I had a conversation with Karen. I gave her a hug. I gave her all of your love. And she was just so kind and so appreciative for all of the support. And for all of you. And I said, we are sending you all strength. We are all sending you strength. And we see how you sit here every day, and we don't know how you do it. And, we had some private conversation, and then I had a conversation with David Nettie. And, I'm not going to repeat my conversations here, obviously, because they're not for public consumption, but it's, it was an interesting day, to say the least. So we go into the other courtroom. We're sitting in the row where we were, and there was a juror issue, and we didn't know what was going on the outside because they're very, very strict about phones. Like, your phone is off, your phone is in your purse or your pocket. Like, you are not allowed to have your phone out in open court. You're just not. And a lot of courthouses are like that. And if you are caught, if your phone rings or something, or your phone goes off during a court session, they will kick you out. So phones are out of the question. So what had happened was the judge, they had a sidebar immediately upon entering about 9 a.m. when the judge took the bench. And they said, we need a sidebar. They had a sidebar, and it was a juror issue. And they brought one of the jurors into the courtroom to come to the sidebar. And apparently, I don't know who the pool photographer is. They have one giant television camera set up in the corner, and they have a still photographer. And I don't know who runs the pool camera that everyone uses, but apparently the juror may have been seen on the TV feed. And so after that, the court said, okay, there's not going to be any more video this morning. It's going to be audio only. But we're all in the courtroom, and we didn't know this was going on. And you know, the judge, in the cameraman's defense, the judge did not say, I'm bringing in a juror now. Can you put the, show the fan? It was really nice to meet the fan up and personal to you guys. I met the fan and I, had a little conversation because we have spent a lot of time with that fan, you and I, and nausea inducing fan. So the judge did not say, focus on the fan. I'm going to bring a juror. And the juror just kind of came in with the court officers. So it was inadvertent. You can't blame the cameraman. And then eventually, after 90 minutes of sidebars and in and out and in and out and in and out, a juror was dismissed. That juror was dismissed. And she was a female. And we don't know why, but this happens all the time. It's really not anything that crazy. But when I went to watch like reaction videos from other law tubers, like the next day or today, I don't even, today's Sunday. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Happy Father's Day to everyone who celebrates. Extra special Father's Day to anyone who has lost a father. And extra special Father's Day to all the mothers out there who do both, who serve both roles. I see you. I feel you. And happy Father's Day to all of you as well. Where was I? Oh, so when I wanted to watch other law tubers' reactions and other people's reactions on that whole juror issue, it was like people were like, this is insane. This is crazy. I mean, I heard people talking about this must be a mistrial, something about the juror having gone to the waterfall and met people and talking about that. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. All I know was after like 90 days, 90 minutes, that juror was dismissed. The jury was brought in and the judge told the jury, you may notice that one of your fellow jurors is no longer here. She was excused and it has nothing to do with her or you or the case, but that's what happens. And now there are 9 women left on the jury and 6 men. So we're down to 15, which means there are 3 alternates left. And Massachusetts does it in a weird way. In New York, when you're selected onto a jury, if you are an alternate, they will tell you right away that you're an alternate. So you know while you're sitting through the case that you're going to be an alternate. And I kind of like the way Massachusetts does it better because I think if you're an alternate and you might not be paying attention so much because you're like, what's the point? I may not get to deliberate anyway. But in Massachusetts, they don't pick the alternates until after the entire case is over. So everyone's paying attention. Everyone's got pads. They're taking notes. I did notice that 2 of the jurors are left-handed, which I found very interesting because I hear that a lot of people who are left-handed are geniuses. Don't know. Can't really confirm or deny. But I do know that the testimony that we sat through or that we heard on Friday was very dry testimony, although very, very important testimony. And most of the day was Lally questioning the witnesses. We heard from Jessica Hyde, who opined on Jen McCabe's Google search of Haas Long to Die in Cold. And then we heard from Trooper Joseph Paul, who's the alleged accident reconstructionist for the Massachusetts State Police, who sort of did some kind of an investigation on this case. But we can go over that testimony if you like. Linda Vergata is left-handed. Woo woo! Yeah, hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like button. And we had lunch with the attorneys and the team, and then the skies opened up in the afternoon as we were walking back to court. And we got into the courthouse right before like torrential rain happened. It was crazy. And then when the judge let the jury go, I want to say like around 3:45. And then we had the voir dire of that witness, Trooper Joseph Paul, which was really the most exciting part of the day because Alan Jackson got to get up and do his thing outside the presence of the jury. So that was pretty cool. Let's take some questions now before we start looking at that testimony. Stephanie says, look at the video of her backing up. You can see the tire tracks in the snow and where they end. More proof she hit the car. Thanks, Steph. Thanks for your super chat. Amy in Boston is a member for 7 months. Thank you, Amy. Allegedly LB, thank you for the 5. Hi, Melanie. Great meeting you Friday. Great meeting you too. My son was so happy he got a photo with that was your son. He was so cute. He was so cute. Thank you. I'm glad that we got to take that picture. If you want to email it to me, that'd be incredible. fan base at mlittlelaw.com. It was so nice meeting all of you. I mean, you guys were so crazy nice. Amy, love seeing your beautiful self in denim. Thank you, Amy. Thanks for always being here, always being part of the chat. And Dennis, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I think you're in Canada, Dennis, right? Leo Bunker, thank you for doing that. Melanie, doing what? What did I do? I didn't do anything. It's all them. But thank you. Thank you for thanking me. And Lori Life 360 for the win, gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, Lori. You're always giving. Always giving. And I appreciate you. Tammy, Truth and Justice. It was awesome. You were there. True video of good, honest people coming together against corruption and the framing of an innocent woman. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you for the 10. Suzanne, you're loved and appreciated. Melanie, thank you, Suzanne. Thank you. It's not always easy what we do here, but listen, if I could take the target off of Karen's back for one day, I'm okay with it. Come for me in the comments. These comments, YouTube comments, not comments in the cesspool where I don't participate. These ones. Danielle Alexander, thank you for being a member for 5 months. It's even strangers love and appreciate you. Oh, thank you, Danielle. And there's Kelly Reed again. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly's awesome. Just one of the members of the awesome Reed family. Really, they couldn't be nicer. Really couldn't be nicer. That's what I have to say about that. Suzanne, love or hate Turtle Boy, but he's the person who brought attention to this case, and it started the Free Karen Reed movement. You know, I was a little upset he wasn't in court on Friday. Thank you, Suzanne. And Just Machado was not in court either. So the way the courtroom is set up. Thank you, Hudson. How are you? It's been a while. Thank you for the super sticker and the super chat. This trial is a societal bellwether on unchecked, flagrant abuse of power, and everyone should be demanding justice for this woman. Thank you, Hudson, for pointing that out, because I've been screaming into a closet for many, many months. I feel like finally the world is seeing what we know, who have been looking at all the pretrial motions and looking at all the original police reports and the investigative reports and the lack of investigative reports. Please show the picture of you and AJ. Thanks, Leo Bunker. I'm going to see if I can find it. To remember where all these pictures are. I was with Natalie until late, so I didn't get to pull everything. Diana Miller, thank you for the 10. Also, to add to that, the rest of the, I didn't take a picture with Alan. Anything that I have is a screenshot from that video that you just saw of Brian's feed. I didn't do the fangirl picture with the team or with Karen or anything like that. It just, there's a time and a place for that stuff. And I just did not feel like that was a time or place, but I did take pictures with anybody outside who wanted to take them with me. Diana says, oh, thank you again, Diana. Also, to add to that, the rest of the U.S. is looking as well, because it is in the great city of Boston, which has so much American history. I say, forget the haters. You are gorgeous inside it now. Thank you so much. I don't really know who's hating on me, and I don't really care, but people send it to me or tell me not to worry about it. I'm like, worry about what? I don't even know what you're talking about. P. Lila's mom, thank you. Oh my gosh, that made me weep, Melanie. What an honor for you. Thank you. The honor is, they're the ones doing it, We're just watching. We're just watching and talking about it. Some of us are less afraid to talk about it than others, but now, Natalie is talking about it. Kurt's talking about it. A lot of law tubers are talking about it that hadn't been following it all the way pre-trial, the way we were together. And it seems like everyone's coming to the same conclusions. So yay. And BB, thank you for the 10. Melanie, I'm so happy you're able to sit in the courtroom on Friday and meet Karen, her parents, etc. What an amazing experience. Please don't ever leave us again. I was so lost without you here. It was funny. You guys were, some people were kind of freaking out. I was like, but it's all good, you guys. It's all good. I'm going to be able to tell you what happened from inside the courtroom. It's all good. So I don't know where you landed that day. But since 2 of my moderators also moderate for the Glarer, I think we sent you guys over there. Brandy Churchwell is also a very good option. Lori Life 360 for the win. Has been a member for 2 months. I've been around longer and love it here. Thank you, Lori. We love having you here too. And I love when you change your YouTube names based on the trial that we're covering. That's pretty awesome. Hi, Laura Liz. Saw a story today about a woman wrongly imprisoned for murder for 43 years. Terrible defense. The real murderer was a cop. This can happen to anyone. Didn't you send me that email, Laura Liz? I haven't had a chance to dive deep into it, but I promise I will. Samantha Layton, thank you for the 20. Trooper Paul was talking about a key cycle that had to have been the 5 a.m. drivers, not the 12 a.m. drive. I think the Commonwealth is trying to pull another fast one. Samantha, as hard as I tried to stay awake for all of that testimony in the afternoon, as Lully was lulling us to sleep, we couldn't see the diagrams on the big screen. So we couldn't see any of the exhibits. They're very far away. The jury certainly can't see them. They're going to bring them back into the jury room with them, but it's kind of better watching it from home with you on the TV because I can pull up the exhibits. We can freeze on them. We can enlarge them. We can dissect them. I couldn't do that in the courtroom. Hi, Kurt. Is the stupid any less stupid in person? Kurt, it is more stupid in person. And usually when I'm sitting at home, I've got a nice coffee that's like, huge, and I have the caffeine to stay awake. But in court, it was hard, man. And I am not one of those people who like falls asleep easily, but maybe because I didn't get any sleep really the night before. But also they turn the lights off and he's droning and droning and droning and droning. And it's you can't imagine what it's like. You can't imagine what it's like. Nico 2020, thank you for the 5. It was so powerful to see you there. Thank you. It was so powerful to see all of you there outside. Like the energy is crazy. Like it's like I don't even know how to describe it. You know when you go to like a ticker tape parade when the Yankees win the World Series? I mean, not quite like that, but it's similar in fashion, I would say. That all of these people who never knew each other come together for a common cause that they all believe in so much. And you just don't see that. You just don't see it. Oh, Charlene, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for the 10. It was so fabulous meeting you and taking pictures with me and my sister Cheryl. That was me who yelled when you and Liza Little walked by. Now that's a powerhouse of women. That was you, Charlene. Charlie was yelling. Yeah, I had to say that to Alan Jackson about Mexico. Oh, I had to. I couldn't let that opportunity go to waste. And I didn't know it was being filmed. I just thought it'd be funny to say, remember we went to Mexico together. Like people think we know each other already, but we're really meeting here for the first time right now. Kirsten, thank you for coming in from Canada. How did it feel hearing AJ during the voir dire jury's reaction? Thank you for being there with all of us, for all of us. Yeah, we'll watch it together and I will tell you how that went. M.E. Lennon, thank you for the 10. Will the witnesses that change stories be charged with perjury or how does that work? And if so, do you think one will roll to avoid jail and say what really happened and hopefully justice for John? That's a great question. And perjury is a really, really hard thing to prosecute and a hard thing to prove, but changing your story or saying, I don't remember, or I don't recall, or, I have a feeling that's why some witnesses wanted to see documents before they gave their answer. Like, let me say what you have. Let me see the receipts so that they could potentially prevent themselves from committing perjury. But we'll see what happens in the end. I don't know that we will ever know what really happened to John unless there's an eyewitness who comes forward. So you're right. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Hi, Kelly Brown. What was your opinion on Judge Bet? I'm glad you asked that, Kelly, and I'm glad that you've been a member for a month. And I have to say this in all honesty. You get a vibe from people. Like I tell you, when I went to see Rex Heuermann in court, the alleged Long Island SK, I got to be careful because whatever day that was that Proctor used the C word, everyone got demonetized on YouTube that day. And I appealed it. And they finally told me that's why. I went to court one of the days that Rex Heuermann was in court, and I was sitting in the courtroom and you could feel, and I told you guys that when he walked into the room, you could just feel this like evil walking into the room. And then at one point he turned around and he looked at me and I thought he was looking me straight in the eye. And I'm like, that was like staring into the soul of like the devil. Like you can feel a vibe. And I have to say that the judge gives off a very friendly vibe. She really does. Like we watch it on TV and we think she's acting a certain way, but when you're in the room with her, and that room's pretty small, like you're pretty close, she gives off a way friendlier vibe in person than she does on television. And when she's, telling Alan to like not use hyperbole, or she's telling Adam or Lally, to behave a certain way, you can really see when you're in the room with her that part of it is really said in jest. Like she's really not trying to be sarcastic, obnoxious, or rude. And so I had a much different opinion of her in person than I did when I had been commentating on her. And therefore I have to say that she gives off a way friendlier vibe. It's just, it was unusual. I didn't expect that. So, that was cool. Like she's tired. She's exacerbated. She's exasperated. The jury's tired. She's reading the room. She does know how to read the room. So she can see when the jury's getting bored or checked out. And that's when she's like, come on, Lally, speed it up. Or next question, let's get going. Like she doesn't want the jury to be bored. She doesn't want to take up too much of their time. It was interesting to see. Please follow the Donna Adelson trial in September. Thank you, Intolerant. Thanks for being a member for 2 months. This trial is supposed to end before 4th of July, so we're going to have to find something before that. But yes, thank you, I will. Madam Roz, thank you. In the courtroom on Thursday, I watched the fan to stay awake. Madam Roz, you were there on Thursday. Yeah. It was crazy, right? Crazy to meet that fan in person. 2:27 a.m. is legit. See, I see what you did there with your screen name. Thanks for the 5. Did you get a good feeling from the jury, or were they nodding off like we all want to do when Lally speaks? Well, let's look at some of the testimony and then I'll kind of tell you how they were reacting. But when they were first brought in, there were some of them who had notepads, some of them who didn't. Some of them took notes, many of them didn't. And this forensic testimony is really, really important. So maybe some of them thought that they could retain that. There were certain points where some of the jurors were kind of looking at Lally like, what? And then looking at the witness. There's one juror who definitely does play tennis. He's looking at very intent. Everyone's very engaged in what's going on. And you can see that everyone who's there is taking it really seriously. Really seriously. I can't tell you which way they're leaning, but I can tell you they are all taking their duty very seriously. I did not see anyone fall asleep. Samantha, thank you for the 10. There was only one key cycle between the testing and the trigger drive. She drove twice after the 12 a.m. drive, 5 a.m. and to her folks. The trigger drive has to be the 5 a.m. drive. I hope AJ saw that. I'm going to keep this up and we'll come back to it later. Maybe we'll look at the testimony about the key cycles. Hi, Laura. Thank you for your 5. Missed you Friday. I was a little lost without you. Panicked somewhat when everything was going on in the AM, but I'm glad you were able to go. Thank you. So am I. Yeah, it wasn't really that big of a deal as everyone was making it out to be about the juror issue. It happens a lot. It just took a long time. So for 90 minutes, I'm sure there was a lot of dead air. If I was on with you for 90 minutes and we were just waiting and looking at the fan, what would we have done? Watch some videos together, probably. What was the vibe from the O'Keefe family? That's a great question, Nico. Mrs. O'Keefe was not there, and Mr. O'Keefe was not there either. So neither of John's parents was there when I was there. Paul O'Keefe was there and his wife, and in between Paul and his wife sat another gentleman who looked to be Paul's age. I don't know. And the rest of the people on that side of the room, I did not recognize. So I didn't interact with any of them. And they were far enough away that I was watching the lawyers and the witnesses and the judge more than I was watching them because they were off to my left. So the way that the courtroom is set up is that Karen's section, or family and friends, there's 10 seats for Karen's family and friends. They sit behind Karen's table. And then to Karen's left are the 10 seats for the O'Keefe family. And it's like church pew seating. It's very uncomfortable, but the Reeds bought cushions. So I had a cushion on my seat. So that was really nice. And then behind the O'Keefe side, there are 10 seats for media. Maybe like 6 of them sit at this little like counter with stools. And then there are maybe 2 or 3 behind. Who's the nicest of all the media people? I'm going to say the Canton Community Television. I met a gentleman and a woman from Canton Community CCTV, and they were so nice to me. Really, really nice. Tara, thank you for the 5. It was interesting to find out that Bev spent her whole career as a public defender before being nominated to her judgeship. That is correct. And she was appointed, right, by one of your governors, I believe. One of your governors. So what do you guys want to talk about? We could go through some of the testimony, I thought, since we did not have the opportunity to do that together. The issue with the testimony of Jessica Hyde is that some people got the Zoom feed. So I think Court TV eventually got the Zoom feed, and we can't see the exhibits on that. So I was left with more questions than answers on the Jessica Hyde testimony. And my takeaway from that is that she was given a very, very narrow thing to look at. She was only asked to look at the 2 Google searches. That was it. She wasn't asked to look at text messages, she wasn't asked to look at phone calls. She was given a very, very, very specific set of facts to look for. It was a limited scope. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen, for finding the words from me when you know I've been talking for a long time. I'm sorry you went by so fast. I can't even give you credit for it. Christine, somebody. Christine, thank you, Christine. She had only a limited scope. That was it. She seems very knowledgeable. She seems like a very nice woman, but she has her own business. She served in the military. That's amazing. Literally, her background was 10 minutes of testimony. And she was very enthusiastic about her testimony. And she really believed in her testimony. But she was given a very specific thing to look for. And I think we will see when we hear from Richard Green, who is the defense expert that's going to contest her testimony, is that perhaps he is older and more experienced in Celebrate than this witness. She's not a bad witness at all, but she wasn't hired by the prosecution or the Commonwealth until May of 2023. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? And I think Trooper Guarino is going to be the first person at the MSP who looked at this Google search history. And she was there specifically to refute Richard Green. And we haven't heard from Richard Green yet. So we don't know. Yes, Patty, we're going to do that. We got to do the stare down of Trooper Paul at the end on the voir dire. That's great. Robin's Landing. Is David Giannetti is handsome in person? You look beautiful. Yeah, and he's got a really kind vibe too. He just emanates kindness. Like he's just so kind. I think at one point during the day I said to him, you're so passionate. I said, your passion really shines through on TV. Like you're so like we are outraged and the wait for us. And like, we're quoting this and we're believing this and we're saying it and we're repeating it. I made emojis. I said, you are so passionate. And, you don't always see that in defense attorneys. And he looked right at me and he said, you know what? It's really easy when you know your client's innocent. That's what he said. And, that's a great takeaway. They believe in her. She believes in them. Karen is very, very, she's very involved in her defense. She's constantly taking notes. She's on her laptop. She's passing notes. She's very, very involved with her defense and what's going on. And she's not just sitting there watching them do their job. She's really participating. It must have been difficult to talk to Lally. Lally, he is dreamy. Oh, he did say that his sister and his mom love me. So if your guys are watching, I love you right back. And Tanis Yannetti was supposed to be in court, but for some reason she couldn't be there. And I just wanted to meet Queen Tanis in person. Queen Tanis. He is very passionate, Debbie. That is right. Can't wait to hear from the defense, says Kimmy. Do I know of Alan Jackson Jersey? Are you talking the one that goes bang, 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 bang? That one? I don't know if that's the one. Somebody played a recording at lunch, and I think that was the one. And he thought it was funny. Kate, I love that his powerhouse sister Tanis is a fan. She's amazing. Shout out to Tanis Yannetti. Woo! Yep. Bond, James Bond. She has gone through the trials of Job. Yeah. I'm tall. I'm not tall. I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7", with 3-inch heels. I'm 5'10". Not giving up heels for any man ever. Never had to, never will. So I was I was photographs with some people who are not tall, and so it makes me look tall. Let's see. Somebody sent me something here. Let's take a look at this. I don't know. Some people are sending me things to download, but I can't. But let me show you the picture that Mark just sent me. Let's take a look at that. This is pretty cool. It's black and white. Mark did the tour the next night, and people were. I saw somebody put in the pre-chat something like, you're too late with your thing. Mark's been all over. Like, this is time sensitive, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. I have a life. Take a step back. Stop telling me what to do, how to run my channel, when to come on here. Like, I do what I can, and I do the best I can. So it is what it is. But this is a pretty cool picture, and Mark just sent that to me. So somebody sent that to him. So I thought that, oh well, there it just went away. Just went away. Find it again. And then it disappeared, and that was the end of that. Anyway, it was up there for a second, and it was pretty cool. There we go. Wait. Whatever. I don't know how to work technology, my friends. Yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, rescue puppy. We're for the 5. My daughters are over 6 feet and love to wear 3-inch heels. What? That's awesome. Yeah. Whatever. Own your height, people. Don't ever shrink your personality to fit anybody else. Don't ever shrink for anyone. Thanks, Fahima, for becoming a member. Thank you, Christina D. What was your take on Trooper Paul? Is he in for it? Come cross tomorrow during the cross? Yeah. The judge reserved decision. Thanks, Christina, for the super chat. She reserved decision, so we don't know if he's going to be allowed to testify on that video until tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow. Chasing Jamie became a member. Welcome, welcome. Amy in Boston is 5'8". Own that. You're gorgeous. Thank you. My daughters are over 6 feet and love to wear 3-inch heels. Yep, that is. All right, let's take a look at, let's take a look. Let's go to Trooper Paul first. And I really want to focus on, because accident reconstruction is my jam. All right. I was a civil litigator, 30 years, handling such things as taking down the Catholic Church, or trying to anyway, for all of the victims of clergy SA here on Long Island, and other such things as construction accidents, plane crashes, train crashes, first responder cases having to do with, major mass casualty events. And in addition to motor vehicle accidents and dog bite cases, okay, and all other types of accidents. So hiring accident reconstruction experts is my wheelhouse, and listening to them testify is my wheelhouse. And this guy, Trooper Paul, is not, in my opinion, qualified to give these opinions that he's giving. Okay, he works for the Massachusetts State Police. He's worked there for a little while. He's investigated 196 car accidents. Maybe, I don't know how many to say, 59, 50 of them, 30 of them were pedestrian cases. But he lost me when he said that a pedestrian versus car accident could cause the victim to lose a shoe, a hat, or a belt. Okay, because I've never seen a pedestrian lose a belt when a person was hit by a car. I've never seen it happen. I would love to see that, and I would love for him to come back and testify about how many times he's seen that happen. All right, so give me a break. And after that, I found everything else that he had to say to be a little bit not so much. And then especially when he said that he first saw that video on Court TV of Karen's car not hitting John's car in the driveway, that he first saw that on Court TV. I was like, what? either he's been watching the trial, which he's not supposed to be doing, or he was watching the pretrial hearings and that's when he saw it, or he saw it on one of those Court TV episodes a while ago when maybe Sean McDonough was on talking about the taillight. Like, what is this guy talking about? And then he made it seem like he was the one who brought it up with Adam Lally, that he should talk about the video. And it was so weird. All right. In my opinion, as always, everything I talk about here is in my opinion. Let's we're going to just speed it up a little bit because being in that courtroom with Adam Lally, it was he wouldn't look at me, by the way. I don't know if he's ever seen my show. Here I am sitting right behind Craig. That's here in the front row. And right here.
Watch your step on me.
Every time Adam Lally walked by, I kind of like look at the floor. So I'm like, he never looked at me. So he probably has no idea who I am. I don't know.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
A little sped
Good
up.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Trooper Joe Paul, that's Paul.
And how are you employed, sir?
I am currently employed with the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you been a trooper with the state police?
I have been a trooper for approximately 8.5 years.
And,
Or sorry, 12.5 years. I apologize.
And where is it that you're currently assigned within the state police?
I am currently assigned to our Collision Analysis and Reconstruction section, otherwise known as CARS, our recon.
And how long have you had that assignment to the reconstruction of the cars?
That one's for about 8.5 years.
And with respect to your assignment to that unit, prior to beginning with that unit, let me ask you this first. As far as the cars unit is concerned, about how is that sort of divided up as far as certain regions that you would specifically cover?
Correct. We have four separate regions across the states. We have Southeast, the Northeast, Central, and the Western.
And which of those are you assigned to?
I am assigned to the Southeast.
And geographically, how much territory are we talking about that the Southeast covers?
Anywhere from Boston down to the Cape, Marks Vineyard, Nantucket, in your southeastern part of Massachusetts.
And currently, how many troopers are assigned to this specialized reconstruction within your Southeast region?
Within our Southeast region, we have, I believe we have 9 now.
And is there some kind of on-call system that your unit operates by?
Yes.
Can you describe that to the jury?
So we rotate. So we rotate every day. Our on-calls are for 24 hours from 0700 to 0700 the next day.
Now, with respect to yourself, upon or prior to you entering into the CARS unit, what, if any, specialized training do you want to go in regard to crash reconstruction?
So when I before I got into the unit, I was sent to 3 separate classes. Each class was 40 hours long. So the first class is basic at-scene crash investigation. Next one's advanced crash investigation, and the other one's traffic crash reconstruction.
And with each of these trainings that you
Okay, this guy's had a total of 40 hours in automobile accident reconstruction. Okay, 120 hours training altogether. And he thinks that belts can come off when pedestrians are hit by cars. Michael says, Melanie, when you hear testimony live, how different is it, if at all, from hearing it on the TV? You can hear it much better on the TV. Much better than you can in the courtroom. It's also easier to focus when you're watching it on TV, because when you're sitting there and you're just hearing droning on and on and on, it gets very, it can lull you to sleep. When I'm here engaging with you and talking to you and answering questions during the testimony, it's much more engaging and I pay attention more. Not that I didn't pay attention while I was in the courtroom, but there's so many other things to look at. I'm looking at the jury, I'm checking out their reactions, I'm looking at the lawyers. And so it's a lot different watching it on TV than watching it live.
This is basic at-scene crash investigation. Next one's advanced crash investigation, and the other one's traffic crash reconstruction.
All right, so 120 hours of crash
with
reconstruction.
each of these trainings that you underwent prior to being assigned to the CARS unit, and some more that we'll talk about in a moment. With respect to each of the trainings that you've been a part of or undergone, is there some sort of certification that you receive in regard to a successful completion of those trainings?
Yes, each one has its own certification.
Now, with respect to, since you've been working with the CARS unit over the last several years. What, if any, additional specialized training have you received in the area of crash reconstruction?
Since I've been on, I've been into probably about 877 hours of education in the units. That's anything from bicycle crash investigation, human factors. I'm currently certified.
All right. I have to put on the closed captions. Did he say 877 hours? Hold on. Also, when you're in the courtroom, you can't see the exhibits on the screen. They're way too small.
Part of or undergone. Is there some sort of certification that you receive in regard to a successful completion of those trainings?
Yes, each one has its own certification.
Now, with respect to, since you've been working with the CARS unit over the last several years, what, if any, additional specialized training have you received in the area of crash reconstruction?
Since I've been on, I've been into probably about 877 hours of education in the units.
I have no idea
That's
what he
anything
said.
from bicycle crash investigation, human factors. I'm currently certified through Borough Level Examiner and the technician. I'm a CDR analyst and a CDR technician trainer. Just recently, I attended multiple seminars, and most recently, I attended a seminar in Houston on EDR data retrieval.
Now, among those other trainings that you received, some of
He attended a seminar in Houston about EDR data retrieval. So that seminar qualifies him to tell you all about the EDR testimony, information that he got from her Lexus that he's going to testify at more length about, to get you to believe these key cycling. The EDR is the black box information, electronic data recorder, I think that stands for. That didn't really pick up any impact, but that's not unusual that it wouldn't pick up an impact. And then he's got these key cycles that he talks about, but there's no indication of a date or time for when these key cycles were made. It shows the mileage on the car at the time the key cycles were made. Like, all of this testimony that he gives is completely speculative. It's like he's reverse engineering his opinion based on what he's already been told. Nothing like hands-on experience. 100%, Kirsten. He watched every episode of Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah. Thanks, Caroline. It apparently doesn't have any date and time on it. These key cycle EDR events that he found. So, people think it's so boring to listen to their experience and when they rattle off their resume, but it's so important because we're going to hear his resume, right? And then we're going to hear the resumes of the 3 PhDs that were hired by the FBI as accident reconstructionists. And I have a feeling that their experience is going to be far greater than Trooper Joseph Paul. I'm sure he's a very nice man. But I do not think he's going to be at the level of the FBI hired accident reconstructionists. But, if you listen to people who think this guy's testimony was, some sort of like smoking gun for the Commonwealth, I'm going to tell you, not really. I don't think it really was believable. I think he was given a set of circumstances that he had to reverse engineer into an opinion, kind of what he did. So let's listen to a little bit more of this, and then we'll get towards the end and watch the voir dire because it's the most interesting part.
those trainings pertain specifically to pedestrian crash.
Correct.
And in addition to the training that you've received through the state police, what, if any, professional organizations do you belong to in regard to crash reconstruction?
Yes, I am currently part of NAPARS, which is the National Professional Accident Reconstruction Section, and I'm also certified through ACTAR, which is the Accreditation Commission for Traffic Accident Reconstruction.
Now, if I can focus specifically just on the ACTAR certification, can you explain to the jury sort of what goes into that, and as far as that certification is concerned, how does one obtain it?
Okay, so first thing you do is you got to submit an application to ACTAR to be allowed to take the test, and part of it, you got to tell them how much education you've had, how many crashes you investigated, basically anything within the crash investigation world. And then once they find that you're
it's a whole world
into the thing, something to take the test.
It's a whole world, the crash investigation world.
Then you got to set a time for the test. We did it as a section throughout our state, and the test is a 2-part test. It's a practical and theory portion of the test. Each part's 4 hours long, and you got to pass both portions to be certified through ACTAR.
Okay.
So there's a written exam and a practical portion of the test as well.
Mhm.
Correct.
And can you explain to the jury sort of the practical portion? What does that consist of?
It's not like the bar exam.
The practical portions is you basically have to analyze a collision. So they give you a simulated crash, and you have to go through and document the evidence. You have to answer a series of questions based on that specific crash. So where you can find the speeds, the distances, times, and everything else related to that collision.
And you successfully completed and received that certification, sir. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how long ago was it that you first received your ACTAR certification?
In 2019.
And how long is that sort of in perpetuity, or is there a
Okay, so he was certified for 3 years before they asked him to reconstruct this accident.
sort of continuing educational component attached to it?
There is a continuation educational component attached to it. The test is it's certified for 5 years, and within those 5 years, you still have to maintain a certain amount of education to reapply for ACTAR again.
And with respect to that ACTAR examination, are you familiar with sort of the success rate or passing rates when it comes to that examination?
Correct.
And what is it?
It's fairly low. I can tell you within my unit at the time I took it, there were probably 20-something of us that took it, and only 3 of us passed it at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a very high pass rate.
No, it's not.
Now, over the course, let me ask you this: when you first sort of enter into the CARS units, are you just sort of you go through the training and then you are on call and get sent out on the road by yourself, or how does that work?
Damn.
No, you first get initially assigned to a field training officer, and then at that point you shadow the field training officer to various crashes.
And is there any sort of
A little shadowing going on there. At Ms. Smith, this is a great point. I'm glad you brought it up, so I don't have to remember to bring it up. Was there an odometer reading when Karen Reed's car was towed? I would love to know that too. Number 2, did he get his certificates like those in the CDL scandal? If you know, you know. I did a whole show on it. They got driveways, plunge pools for giving out the CDLs.
set time period for how long that shadowing process goes on for?
It's not really a set time. It's more based on experience, on how many crashes you go to and how much experience you have in the field. And then they basically, well, if they feel like if you're deemed qualified, then they'll send you on the road on your own.
And over the course of your years within the CARS or the reconstruction unit, approximately how many crashes have you responded to and investigated?
As of now, I've been to approximately 196 crashes, and I probably assisted on another 100, 150 crashes.
Okay. He's been to 196 crashes. It's not a lot in the world of accident reconstruction, and he's assisted in another 100 to 150. That's not a lot in the area of expertise of accident reconstruction.
And of those, of all those crashes that you've responded to, investigated, if you know percentage-wise or number-wise, approximately how many of those have been crashes involving pedestrians?
I know I've been to approximately 55 pedestrian crashes, and I've assisted others on pedestrian crashes.
Approximately 55. That's not really an approximate number. It kind of sounds like an exact number. Okay, so approximately 25% of the car accident crashes that he's responded to or investigated, right? 25% of them were pedestrian cases. But what he says after this is what really got me thinking, he's not really an expert.
Also, so I mean, 55 out of 196.
Now, with respect, if I could turn your attention to January 29th, 2022. Do you recall that date?
I do.
And at some point over the course of that date, were you contacted by somebody in regard to a pedestrian collision that occurred, in the town of Canton?
I was.
And do you recall who was it that first reached out, or how did you first become aware of this?
My sergeant, Sergeant Brian Mahoney, was the one who called me at the time.
And initially, as far as your involvement was concerned, what was your understanding as the initial request for your involvement?
My initial request was to image the airbag control module, do a inspection, test the vehicle, and map the scene out.
Okay, the airbag module, why? The airbags didn't go off. Okay, that's number one. Why would they have him do any airbag module testing? To test the vehicle, okay, I could see do a road test of the vehicle and to map the scene. Now, I just want to go back because the date of that was
29th, 2022.
January 20th. So
I do.
right away, okay, the day that police officer John O'Keefe's body is found, this guy is called and told that it's a pedestrian accident case, okay? What time was it when he was called? Because remember, I have so many problems with this. Proctor is calling for a tow of Karen's vehicle at 2:30 p.m., right after he viewed Officer O'Keefe's body at Good Samaritan Hospital, but before any pieces of taillight were found. So the only investigation that Proctor did that morning was talk to Sergeant Good. Remember Goody? Goody's the one who shot home to his house, grabbed his leaf blower, and shot back because Lieutenant Gallagher at Canton PD thought it'd be a great idea to blow the snow around. The only thing Canton PD found at the scene that morning at 6 a.m., and they were there until not even 8 a.m. in the daylight hours, was the broken drinking glass and 6 droplets of blood, which, as you know, they secured in solo cups that they borrowed from the neighbor and put it in a Stop and Shop bag. That's the only evidence Canton PD found. So they got a broken drinking glass. They got 6 droplets of blood in solo cups. Proctor talks to Sergeant Good, who tells him that. Sergeant Good reports back to him on the statements that Karen made at the scene. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? It's my boyfriend. Is he dead? Is he alive? And then Proctor goes to interview Jen McCabe at Jen McCabe's house and interviews Matt McCabe and Brian Albert, all at Jen McCabe's house. And right away, Jen McCabe says to him, I know your sister, Courtney. I'm Jen McCabe. None of that is ever disclosed anywhere. In fact, nobody ever finds that out until Proctor's personal phone was extracted by the FBI in the federal investigation. They got all of his personal text messages. And that's when the jury heard and we first learned that Jen McCabe said to him right away at that first meeting, I know your sister. Because Proctor texted his sister, Courtney, who he said is his best friend. They talk at least 5 or 6 times a day, and said, I just interviewed Jen McCabe. After he said to her, today, I found a frozen in the snow today on a lawn or something. Actually, I just interviewed Jen McCabe, and she says she knows you. What's the jury supposed to infer from that? This was evidence that Proctor never thought was going to get out. But all of a sudden, Jen McCabe is putting the bug in the ear. Oh, I'm a friend of your sister's, right? And in Jen McCabe's original statements, she never said, Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She said, Karen said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And you heard Kerry Roberts say the same thing. She said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And Kerry Roberts testified under oath in front of this jury that she said to Karen, no, you didn't hit him. You were drunk. You could have hit anything. She didn't take her seriously. The only person who testified in this trial that Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, was Katie McLaughlin. But Katie McLaughlin did not never gave a statement to that effect. Okay, are you following me here? So by 2:30, Proctor's calling for a tow of this car. And all he's got is, they said her taillight was cracked. But already he has said by 10:30 p.m. when he's texting his buddies about how the Boston cop's not going to get in trouble because he's a Boston cop. And that this girl is going to face some serious charges. He had it all figured out. He had it all figured out. So this guy, Trooper Paul, is already getting a call that same day before any pieces of taillight were found, probably, because they didn't start coming up until, I don't know, 5:45, 6 p.m., that it's a pedestrian versus car motor vehicle accident. And we need you to come and look at the car, because they don't get a warrant until like February 1st, which is the same day they arrest Karen. This whole thing, like, for anybody with any shred of common sense, is so sus that it's just nuts. Oh, hello, Turtle Boy Live. Sorry I missed you. Sorry you weren't in court on Friday. I know. We were looking for you. It would have been nice to meet you. Proctor's got it all figured out by 10:30 p.m. This officer's getting the call to come down there and to investigate this as a PKD, which we call a pedestrian knockdown. let's see if he says what time it was when he got that call.
And at some point over the course of that date, were you contacted by somebody in regard to a pedestrian collision that occurred, in the town of Canton?
I was.
And do you recall who was it that first reached out, or how did you first become aware of this?
My sergeant, Sergeant Brian Mahoney, was the one who called me at the time.
And initially, as far as your involvement was concerned, what was your understanding as the initial request for your involvement?
My initial request was to image the airbag control module, do a inspection, test the vehicle, and map the scene out.
Now, you've used that term a couple of times. If I could just ask you to explain it a bit for the jury. When you say an airbag control module or an ACM, what is that, and what do you understand that term to mean in the context of crash reconstruction?
The ACM is the module in a car that controls the airbags and the seatbelt pretensioners.
And what you were referencing before, as far as being a CDR, having taken CDR trainings and being a CDR instructor, what, if any, relationship does the CDR have to ACM?
CDR is just a crash data retrieval software. It's the software that we use to image or download an airbag control module.
And can you explain to the jury sort of the process of physically sort of how that's done, as far as what
Physically, sort of, kind of how to maybe say it. Eventually, he'll get around to the point, and the point is that the airbags did not go off, but it's not uncommon, he'll say. Special shout out from Kelly Reed to Kelly's cousin Noah and his wife Jess. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Shout out to Noah and Jess. All right, moving on with this guy.
Yes. There are two ways really to download a vehicle. It's either one is direct to module, or just direct to the vehicle through the DLC port or the diagnostic link connector. The direct to module, we don't use the direct to module if a vehicle had no power. Then we would have to go directly find the module inside the vehicle and go right to that specific module. But if the car has power, we would go direct to the DLC port, which is the same port that you see when you're like a technician would.
Okay, so they download some data. The airbags did not deploy, blah, blah, blah. He takes the car outside and he test drives the car outside the Sally Port of Canton PD in wet conditions, but not snowy conditions. And he determines that the car is working properly. And he talks about going 25 miles an hour in reverse, because apparently he already had this data, but everything is all backwards because the way Lally questions him, it's like he's reverse engineering the testimony, and it was really hard to follow. And it didn't make a lot of sense, and I couldn't even understand it, and I've got a law degree. So it's not, he didn't do the same conditions. He didn't recreate the same conditions that, because we all know it was snowing by now. We all know it was snowing, the snowy conditions. But he did do some drone shots of the 34 Fairview. He did some drone shots, and somebody said, I don't remember who it was it Mark Betterow, who said to hear Lally drone on about drones was a double entendre or something like that. And it was true. So here are the drone shots and his diagram that he did.
Up on the screen as Exhibit 136.
I do.
Is this the diagram that you were able to view from the created by Lieutenant O'Hara from the search team?
Yes, it was.
And what's contained, at least from this overhead shot, is that fair and accurate trail of the roadway or the conditions of the roadway, absent obviously the weather at the time that you went out there February 1st.
Correct.
You can take that. Thank you.
Hey, Scott Messerschmidt, one of my amazing moderators. My moderators are the best on YouTube.
Forgive me, Your Honor, if I can just have 1 second. Sure.
Take all the seconds, Lally. Take all the seconds.
Before you actually just look at those, finished. Recognize those to be?
They are pictures that were in my report. They're Google images of the roadway.
Google
And
images.
one facing from the northbound direction, one facing from the southbound. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'll see if you introduce the minutes next exhibit.
No objection.
If I could just publish these.
Yeah, and then he shows the jury these pictures, which this is what I'm talking about. The lights going on and off and on and off. It was hard to stay awake. I was pinching myself to stay awake.
Trooper, directing your attention to the screen. What you have before you is that what's up on the screen. Excuse me. Is that what you have before you now marked as Exhibit 582?
Yes, it is.
And if you could, there should be a laser pointer on the desk somewhere before you, sir. If you could, using that laser pointer directs the jury's attention to sort of what we're looking at in this particular photograph of the road.
All right. So this
Okay. I know this is boring. Pay attention. See how Fairview is curved? The road is curved. See how it curves to the right?
is Fairview Road. It's facing northbound. 34 Fairview Road would be onto the left in this area.
So if Karen was facing towards us in this picture, right, and she had to back up 60 feet to hit John O'Keefe intentionally at 24.2 miles an hour, she'd have to navigate that curve, right? Because Jen and Matt McCabe testified they looked out the window and she was facing the direction, not the direction that we're looking, but the direction that would be coming towards us.
Now, with regard to the roadway, when you went there, what if any observations or what if anything did you know about sort of roadway surface or markings on the roadway or the general overall condition of the roadway?
The roadway was, there's no significant difference. Anything significant with the roadway.
As far as the roadway material, were you able
Not
to
the
tell
answer that
whether
Lally
it was
wanted,
asphalt,
clearly.
concrete, or anything
Right.
else?
Yes, it was an asphalt roadway.
And as far as the markings within the roadway, what if any observations did you make of those?
There was double yellow stone line, white fog lines both sides of the edge of the road.
It's interesting to me that Fairview Road has double yellow lines on it. Isn't that the number one rule of real estate? Don't ever buy a house on a street with a double yellow line. So is it highly trafficked? I mean, that's interesting to me.
Where we're going after the roadways.
And then as far as adjacent to the roadway or adjacent to the fog line, what if anything did you observe there?
So as you look at the picture, the left side has asphalt curbings. These are about 5 inches tall, same on both sides. And there's a sidewalk along the right side of the roadway here.
And the side of the asphalt curbings, that's the same side that 34 Fairview was located on, is that correct?
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next slide. And to recall, if I could direct your attention to the next exhibit before you, I think it's 583.
Okay, so again, this is facing the other direction right here. Where you see the mailbox. That is the mailbox of 34 Fairview. Jen and Matt McCabe also said that Higgins' Jeep was parked right in front of that mailbox with a plow on it. So that would be a pretty long, taking up a pretty large portion of the roadway there. So again, if Karen was, backing up 60 feet at 24.2 miles an hour, trying to navigate this curve here and avoid Higgins' Jeep in order to intentionally hit John O'Keefe right here at the curb, because that's where his shoe was. Remember, right up against the curb. That's where that sneaker was. So this trooper is going to tell you that that was the point of impact, right where the sneaker was. And then he's going to say that Officer O'Keefe must have cracked his head open on the curb, which makes zero sense, because if he lost his shoe right there, he would have fallen backwards in the directionality of where the car was traveling, and then his head would not have hit the curb. So none of this is going to make any sense to you. I'm just going to point it out so we can sort of like fast forward a little bit through it, because that's what he's going to say. I'm going to let you hear him say it. But remember that the sneaker was found butted right up against that curb, not by Canton PD, because they want the jury to think Canton PD was incompetent, because they also couldn't find all those pieces of red taillight that the MSP CERT team found when it was dark out after 6 p.m. So,
And again, sir, what's up on the screen? Is that what you have before you with 583?
Yes, it is.
And if you could, again, using the laser pointer, just briefly direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, you know as far as from this perspective.
Yeah, so this is the southbound. 34 Fairview would be on the right side here.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that. Okay,
Ms. Gilman is the hardest working person in that courtroom.
Now, Trooper, with regard to
I mean, you can see how involved Karen is. She's making notes. She's conversing with them. She's looking through the exhibits. She's very involved in her defense.
With regard to the roadway, as far as Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you note in regard to postings regarding the speed limit on that particular roadway?
Yeah, so posting for a speed limit is 30 miles per hour. At this area, it's only posted 30 miles per hour for northbound operators, and I believe it was like 19 Fairview Road was posted in front of. For the southbound operators, it was not posted.
I mean,
So
he
for a northbound
studied.
operator, that would
He studied his report. He knew what he was going to testify to. Like he memorized his report. Like he's coming in, he's got the facts. He memorized it. He's going to say that later, that he went over everything for checks and balances because he wanted to make sure that his testimony was accurate. And I commend him for that. I do.
Would again be someone where the residents of 34 Fairview Road will be on the left-hand side of the road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And with regard to the width of the lanes, or what if any measurements did you take in regard to the lanes or the roadway itself?
Yeah, each travel lane was approximately 12 feet, and the overall width was approximately 27 feet.
Now, as far as measurements being conducted with regard to the scene, what, if anything, did you use or employ to make those measurements, or what, if any, devices?
Yes, I mapped the scene with a it's called a Leica GNSS GPS total station, and also used a drone.
And he knows the name of all the equipment that he used. I'm sure he's, he's very well rehearsed.
A UAS, is that correct?
He's nervous.
The drone, I mean.
Yes.
And with regard to each of those, as far as the GPS mapping and the drone, have you received any sort of specialized training in regard to employment of each of those tools?
Yes, I have been certified to use the Leica, and I've also have a Part 107 license for the drone.
Now, as far as starting with the Leica or the GPS, if you could explain to the jury sort of what that is and how you use that device in order to, as you termed it, map the scene.
Yes, it's essentially what you say surveyors would use to make roadways. It uses satellites and GPS data plus cell phone data to make marks on the roadway, or actually not marks, but just mark points in the roadway that are within millimeters of the device.
And with regard to the drone device, sir, how does that? Can you explain to the jury sort of how that works and how that's used?
Yeah, so the drone, and we fly the drone around the area. We set it to set up a grid pattern to fly around the scene. And while it's flying this grid pattern, it takes a series of photographs. And these photographs are also GPS marked. So once we get all the photographs in, we throw it into a program, and the program will essentially stitch us all together. And then once we get that picture, we throw it into a diagramming system.
Mm-hmm.
And that diagramming system, have you also received training in regard to utilization of that diagramming system?
Yes, I have.
And the one that you're currently using within the CARS unit, what is that diagramming system or software called?
It's IMS 360.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you 4 documents. Ask you to just review those. Finish.
These are the diagrams that we print out through the program.
And the last one is the drone image. Is that correct?
Yes, they're all drone images. The last one is just one that was put into my diagram, and I label it as a drone image.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm off to introduce the witness next 4 exhibits.
No objection.
All right, you guys, I'm at 49,730 subscribers. And my 1-year anniversary of posting my first video on this channel is June 26th. And it would be so awesome is that because there's almost 4,000 of you here, 3,863. If anybody who's not subscribed to the channel would just hit the subscribe button, that'd be so awesome. Maybe we could hit 50K tonight. That would be sweet. Helps the algorithm. It's really, really, apparently I don't get a plaque until I'm at 100K. So it's a ways to go. But if you guys would hit that subscribe button, it's free right below. That'd be really awesome.
Sure. Familiar with the term lane width and overall width. What, if any, other measurements did you take there? Let me ask it this way. As far as
We took measurements for the evidence.
Yeah, listen to
let me ask it
this.
way. As far as with elevation or incline of the roadway, what, if any, measurements did you take in
Leading,
regard to that?
leading.
Yeah, so
leading.
we took the elevation and roadway measurements, or the elevation for the roadway.
And where in relation to the residents at 34 Fairview did you take that? Sort of the entire street or just in the general area of that specific address?
In the general area of that specific address.
And from your measurements as far as, well, let me ask you this. How
The
is
general area.
To elevation or incline, what kind of tool do you use for that?
We have a level, the digital level that we'll place on the roadway, and we'll get a measurement from that.
Now, with regard to the measurements that you took of the elevation or the incline in the roadway, anything, or what, if anything, of significance
Cal.
did you find from that?
So this roadway had approximately plus or minus 1 to 2 degrees.
So nothing significant, is that fair to say?
Nothing significant, yes.
Now, sir, through your training
It's not
experience,
important to be
as a
accurate.
constructionist, are you familiar with the term related to crash reconstruction called roadway evidence?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what your understanding of that term is and what types of things could be termed as roadway evidence?
That's roadway evidence is anything that's related to the collision you're investigating at the time. It could be anything from vehicle debris, gouge marks, tire marks, anything that's related to a vehicle or whatever type of crash you are investigating. It could be vehicle or pedestrians.
Would it be important, Trooper Paul, to note any tire marks when investigating a vehicle versus pedestrian car accident? Would that be important things to measure, document, photograph? Because it wasn't done here.
So any sort of anything from either the vehicle, pedestrian as well, is that correct?
Correct.
So pieces from a vehicle, holding items from a pedestrian, correct?
Here, he says pieces of a vehicle. Pieces of a vehicle, like taillight, okay? And then this witness is going to tell you he didn't put all the taillight pieces on his diagram because, you know, I guess he felt like he had enough on his diagram.
Yes.
Now, with respect to both your review of the CERT team diagrams as well as speaking with members of the Camden Police Department, were you able to then plot certain pieces of roadway evidence onto those diagrams that you that I just showed you a few moments ago?
Yes, I was.
Now, with reference to, you're familiar also through your training and experience when it comes to pedestrian crashes, as far as sort of the physics or kinematics of how pedestrians interact with vehicles in the course of a collision.
Kinematics. Take note of kinematics. He opened the door on kinematics.
Yes, I am.
Now, I'm going to ask you just a couple of terminology questions when it comes to items that are involved in a collision, sort of simple Newtonian physics, Newton's first law. Can you explain what that is to the jury and sort of how that pertains to
Newton's first law? What? Like, I learned that my first day of my 40-hour training, the first one, like, I don't, Newton's first law. Okay.
any collision between two objects?
The first law?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the when
He studied this. You could tell he studied it. He's like, Lally told me he was going to ask me this, how to look it up.
object stays in motion or stays at rest, will stay at motion or rest until acted upon by an outside force.
Now, with respect to, are you familiar also with a crash reconstruction term called final rest?
Yes, I am.
And are there different derivations of final rest as far as controlled final rest versus uncontrolled final rest?
Correct.
And can you explain just first to the jury what final rest means in relation to crash reconstruction, and then what, if any, differences there are between a controlled final rest and an uncontrolled final rest?
Yes, the final rest is what we use for describe the area where a pedestrian came to stop after the collision. It's immediately after the collision. This is where they first stopped, or a vehicle. Usually after collision, it's where this vehicle first stopped. And a controlled final rest is when an operator actually controls the vehicle to the stop, and as opposed to the uncontrolled final rest is when there is no control, it's usually acted upon by outside forces that will control the vehicle or pedestrian to its final rest.
And, Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish what's now been marked as Exhibits 584 to 587 for the jury.
Yes.
Please do.
Ms. Gilman, if I could first have a diagram.
Hello from Natalie's show. Hello, Indigo Eyes. Welcome. Everyone, welcome, Indigo Eyes. We're very welcoming
Your Honor,
here.
Just to return the exhibits to the witness. Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to zoom in just a little bit on that.
Yeah.
And now, Trooper, what you have up on the screen, is that what you have before you as first in that exhibit?
Yes, it is.
Now, using the latest for you, if you could, I would ask you to draw the jury's attention or correction to what, if anything, of significance you have noted within this diagram.
Okay. Want to use the pointer? Okay. So in this time, I labeled each part of evidence. So right here would be the pedestrian's final rest, and there.
BS. I call BS. I call BS. You know why? Nobody knows where the pedestrian's final rest was. Nobody knows where Officer John O'Keefe's body was found because nobody documented it. Nobody from Canton PD took a photograph of his body on the ground. Nobody took measurements of where his body was found. Nobody drew a chalk outline. Nobody put one of those little evidence markers that you see on TV, those little yellow cones with the numbers on them or the letters on them, A, B, C, D. Here's where we found this here. Nobody did a gosh darn thing, despite the fact that the pedestrian was a Boston police officer. That is outrageous. It is outrageous. This entire document, this entire chart, this drone video with these markings on it is speculative because nobody knows where Officer John O'Keefe's body was found exactly. Correct? Correct? Nope, they did not. Am I crazy? They didn't even gauge it from the fire hydrant. Thank you, KPT. They didn't. So here's the flagpole I mean, I see where it says pedestrian's final rest. I don't know if there's a marking. Is that supposed to be it? Is there like a little dot where it's supposed to be, or just where these words are is where we're supposed to think it is, which is to the right of the flagpole. It's hard to see on this on this drone shot. And then it says pedestrian's shoe, and then it says glass cup, and then it says plastic piece A and B. So let's hear him explain this because I am more confused than when we started.
For all, since there's so many put together, everything was labeled with a red arrow that would be pointing to where the final rest is.
These little
this red
tiny
glass
red
cup was found.
arrows.
And these are the red and clear plastic pieces. That's where they were found. And pedestrian shoe was found here. The smaller versions here in the light blue is one's a fire hydrant, a flagpole. This is a label for the street 34. And obviously the street name Fairview Road here.
Okay.
Now,
This means nothing to me. I mean, it's a nice science fair project, but aside from that,
what, if anything, were you able to do to measure sort of between different points of roadway evidence, or specifically from the pedestrian or Mr. O'Keefe's final rest in reference to other items that you have depicted on the diagram?
So we're talking about on these diagrams, like it's hard to see here, but it is a scale diagram. The diagram itself is scale. Once you put a roll up to the actual paper, it's scale. I've also have on here, sorry to see, but there's things right here. They're called ground control points. They're little X's on the roadway. They are used for the drones imaging, and using the drone imaging will use those in order to help put all the pictures back together. At the time of this, I measured between each point from ground control point 1 to 2 and put it as approximately 50 feet. And 2 to 3 is 50 feet and 3 to 4 is 50 feet.
approximately 50 feet. Is it important that your diagram is accurate, or is it okay to just be approximately 50 feet? Is it just approximately 50 feet? Like, isn't the whole point of drawing a diagram so that it's like actually accurate? Yeah, where's the belt that flew off in the crash? Thank you, Kathy. It is a school science project. My kids have done better than this on poster board, using those sticky letters and felt. But he seems very invested in this project, so let's let him talk a little bit more. But you can't just say approximately 50 feet. How could it not be you can't. Thank you. I saw a great comment here. I gotta find it now. Richard Johnson, you can't crowdsource evidence collection. No, you can't. Okay. Approximately 50 feet. It's not important to be accurate, right? It's Trooper.
So it kind of is a second way to measure off the diagram.
Kind of.
And also using the program to measure to different points while using the diagram.
And as far as starting with the shoe that you have depicted in this diagram, what was the measurement of the shoe away from Mr. O'Keefe's body?
I believe the shoe was approximately, I don't know my thing, it's approximately 10 feet away.
Approximately 10 feet away from his body, but we don't really know where his body was. So the shoe is approximately 10 feet away from an unknown point of where we think the body may have sort of kind of been.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, may the trooper refer to his report just for the specific measurements?
Yes.
He actually took specific measurements with like a tape measure.
Okay.
Sorry, trooper, with regard to the shoe, how far away approximately was that from Mr. O'Keefe's body?
9 feet.
You also have a measurement for how far away the glass cup pieces were from Mr. O'Keefe's body?
Yeah, 1 foot.
And for the red plastic, you have labeled on this diagram as A. How far away from Mr. O'Keefe's body was that?
7 feet.
Now, with regard to
Okay, so the shoe is 9 feet from where the body may or may not have been. The glass cup is 1 foot away from where the body may or may not have been. And the plastic pieces were 7 feet away. Okay.
the directionality, you also measured sort of directionality as far as the 9 feet that the shoe was away. Which direction was it?
Each evidence was measured from the pedestrian's final rest. So the shoe was 9 feet southeast from the pedestrian's final rest.
And if you could, using the laser pointer on the screen, as far as the directionality of this, or if you could first.
I had to look directionality up. Somebody said they looked it up and it really is a word, but it every time he says it, it annoys me because who uses the word directionality in any sentence ever? Why can't you just say direction? As far as the what direction was it in? What directionality? Why do you have to be fancy? The jury doesn't want fancy. They want facts. well, from what I've heard, people have reported that the jury is highly educated. I think there's at least 1 or 2 engineers. There may be a doctor, a lawyer. Like, these people are highly educated. They don't need you to use fancy words that really are never used in everyday conversation.
Direct the jury's attention to where Mr. O'Keefe's final rest is, and then as far as the directionality southeast from that, where is it?
Okay. So right here, pedestrian's final rest. It's more right there. The shoe is right here. So it would be kind of southeast.
Kinda.
I have an arrow pointing north to kind of give it extra.
Kinda.
And the glass cup that was 1 foot away, which direction was that?
It was about 1 foot north. I think it was found like right next to him. So
And the red plastic that you have labeled as A, again, that was 7 feet. In which direction was that, sir?
that one was east. So it's right here.
As far as the clear plastic, what was the measurement and what was the directionality for that item, sir?
10 feet southeast. So we're about over here.
And the red
thought it was
plastic
9
you
feet.
have labeled on the diagram as B. How far was that, and what directionality was that?
That was 12 feet southeast. And that's on right here.
Sir, if I could direct your attention to the next exhibit before your diagram number 2 of the assembly, if I could have that, please.
Oh, it gets better. Wait for it, Karate Cat Mom. It gets
Do
better.
you recognize what's picked up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
And if you could, again, using the laser pointer, what, if anything, of significance to observe in this particular diagram in reference to the roadway evidence?
It's just essentially the same diagram. It's just a closer up version of it. So you have, so you saw the pedestrian's final rest, glass cup, glass plastic pieces, the shoe. It's all still depicted in the diagram.
So all he's got there are two red plastic. He's got red plastic A, and then clear plastic, and then red plastic B. He's got 3 little tiny red arrows pointing to where those pieces were found. But he's only gonna put those 3 pieces on his diagram.
Indicated, delineated, depicted sort of from where the words are to where the items were. Is that present in this diagram as well?
Correct.
If I could direct your attention to the next exhibit before you, and if I could have diagram 3, Mr.
Just a bigger version with
Again, sure, do you
bigger
recognize
font.
what's up on the screen?
I do.
And if you could just describe to the jury what are we looking at in this diagram?
Yeah, so this is just a closer up to the evidence. It's a little smaller scale.
Lally, did you really have to
These
show all
diagrams
3?
are created from photographs that you took with the drone overhead on that bit of February 1st. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Droning on about drones.
If I could direct your attention to the last exhibits within those. And again, sir, if you could, you recognize what's up on the screen?
I do.
And could you describe to the jury again using the laser pointer to delineate what, if anything, is significant to observe in this drone photograph and diagram you have?
Wouldn't it be so great if he said, yes, I can see that there's a Ford Edge parked in the driveway?
Yeah, so this is from my report. It's the same diagram. Has the same amount of evidence on here. There's a house, there's a light pole here. These lines here, which I mentioned earlier, were the edge of the road and the edge of the sidewalk.
Assuming you can take that down.
All right, Mr. Lally, why don't we pause here for the luncheon recess? Trooper Paul will have you back with us in a second.
Thank
Okay, and if you follow the jurors out, please.
Board, all rise for Gary.
And jurors, why don't we take 45 minutes?
You are muted.
I'll see counsel at sidebar.
Oh, we're getting there. 49,819. We're at 49,819, everyone. Where's the damn hat? There's a sidebar. Absurd and cringeworthy, says Ashley. And the fan is back. No, could not hear the sidebars at all. Nope. They're very, very quiet. And they put on like this white noise machine when they go up there. And they must have a microphone or something over there because the court reporter is able to record what they're saying. And if she can't hear, she'll say, I didn't hear that. Can you guys say that again? So she'll make them repeat it. We're going to come back for that in a second. But let's just take a look at some things here that came in while we were looking at that testimony. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I don't know. I can't get it to come up. Figure out how to do it so I could show you some more of these pictures that people sent me, but I can't do it right now because it's not coming up. One day I will figure out technology and it's going to be such a beautiful day, you guys. It's really going to be such a beautiful day. Or maybe, you know, I'll get some money. I'll be able to afford an assistant to come on and be able to help me pull the stuff while I do the show. You know, that'd be great. That'd be great. All right. So here's after lunch. They come back with this guy and he's going to show us some more diagrams.
Mr. Paul, direct your attention to what's up on the screen. It's now been marked as Exhibit 587. Again, this is the last of the set of 4 diagrams or drone images that I presented before you before, correct?
Correct.
Now, with respect to the evidence, specifically pieces of taillight that are depicted within this diagram, did you put every single piece of taillight that was recovered on January 29th within this diagram?
No, I did not.
Fair to say you did also not put every piece of taillight that you're aware was recovered over the course of this investigation and depicted in this particular diagram?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now, with respect to this particular area of fair.
Is it fair to say that you did not put every piece of taillight that was recovered on this diagram? Yeah. How about why? Why not? Why wasn't it important? That's for cross. But again, no. Is it fair to say you didn't put every piece of taillight that was recovered? Nah. Not important. No big whoop. No big whoop.
You wrote, understanding that you were there in the daytime, correct?
Yes.
However, when you were there in the daytime, what, if any, note did you take as to sort of overhead lighting or available sort of ambient street lighting in the area?
Yeah, so on the top corner, I'll try to right up here, there's a light pole right there. Overhead
Light pole. Okay.
And with relation to where you've marked as far as the final rest position of Mr. O'Keefe and the other areas of items of evidence that were recovered from the scene, was there any lighting in that particular area?
There wasn't.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
So far, he's shown us the same diagram. Like I lost count like 5 times.
Now, turning your attention, sir, back to February 1st, 2022. At some point, you were at the Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes.
And where specifically within the Canton Police Department did you go?
To the back in the garage area.
And within the garage area, what if anything did you do in the garage area?
In the garage area is where we imaged the airbag control module.
Yeah. So they imaged the airbag control module. The airbags did not go off. They had to wait until February 1st because that's when they got the search warrant for the car. So that was also the day that Karen Reed was arrested. So start putting the pieces together, my friends. We're going to skip through a bit of this because, here are the pictures we've already seen of the car in the Sally Port. But again, is this inverted? Is this real? Is this Memorex? Is it inverted? They finally were able to find the crime scene tape. So there's a one in the plus column for them. But again, I mean, it looks like we're looking at the passenger side, but maybe that's the driver's side. Maybe it's inverted. Oh, you know what? The number 4 on the garage is not inverted. So that is probably a fair and accurate representation of the vehicle. But again, here's the taillight. Here's what they want you to believe. That is what this witness says. This is what the taillight looked like when he inspected the car on February 1st. There it is. We just went over this on Natalie's show, but we're going to do it here again in case you weren't watching there. Here, all this red is missing. And he says there's some scratches here because he's got a little red arrow pointing to it. There's a dent right here where this red arrow is. And there's some scratches here and here. And the broken taillight. Look, all that red is gone. It's just gone, you guys. Just missing. on February 1st. Now, we don't know when those scratches came upon this car or revealed themselves on this car. It could have been 3 months ago when Karen was at Costco and somebody smashed one of those ginormous shopping carts into her car. We don't know. We can certainly not opine as to, we don't have any before pictures of the car, right? So we can't say whether these scratches or this dent were there before this alleged motor vehicle accident. But again, this guy's going to tell us that this is how he observed the taillight. And I believe, I'm sure he's telling the truth. I do not think he is lying. When he got there on February 1st, this is what he saw the taillight to look like. When 2 witnesses have told you on the stand, at least 2, that the taillight was cracked and there was a little piece missing. You heard it from Carrie Roberts, who said there was a little black hole and it was cracked. And she said, Karen, you could have cracked that. And who cares? It's a cracked taillight. Who cares? And you heard Jen McCabe say it's cracked and there was a piece missing. Piece. She just said a piece. First time she ever said that was on the stand, that there was a piece missing. But be that as it may, also officer, sergeant, I'm not sure, I forget his rank, I'm sorry, Nicholas Barros, I believe his name is Nicholas, from Dighton PD, who has no skin in this game whatsoever, who went to Karen's parents' house in Dighton because he was called at 2:30 by Proctor, who said, we'll call you when we're 10 minutes away so you could meet us there, because that's what they do. It's a courtesy. He testified that he saw that the taillight was cracked with a little piece missing, but in no way was it destroyed. But Lally and the Commonwealth wants the jury to believe this is what the taillight looked like. Nicholas Barros, thank you. Thank you. So here we
Was
go.
that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed in the rear passenger side area of the defendant's vehicle in the garage on February 1st?
Yes, it is.
So that's what he saw. That's what he saw.
Step back a little bit here.
We saw the video from the Sally Port from January 29th that was inverted or mirrored or hocus pocus or whatever you want to call it. The magical mystery Sally Port. We saw some malingering. We saw some malingering around the right passenger taillight by Proctor and maybe another person or two. Higgins might have been there. We don't know. Maybe Berkowitz was there. We don't know. We were showed a video that made it look like that wasn't the passenger taillight. It was the driver's side taillight because the video was inverted. And Yuri Buchanek didn't bring that up until he was crossed with it. Oh, yeah. Well, it's accurate. It's kind of like when you're looking in the mirror, you still see your face. Okay. Yeah, grab Essen around the taillight, Tommy. You're right. Jane says Berkowitz was there. And A. Harrod says this photo didn't come into evidence until after Barrows testified, so defense never got to cross if this is the crack Barrows saw. Is that true? Well, this one, yeah, with the arrows and stuff on it. But I thought we had seen some pictures of this taillight from the Sallyport, but I could be wrong. Elle said if I was keeping a tally, I'd say more witnesses have testified to seeing a crack than a smashed light. Yeah. And J. Robin, Melanie, did you see the trooper smile at Lally when asked about the pieces? No, I didn't see that. So here we go. He's going to say this was accurate.
With regards to what you've noted within this, if you could.
And then he talks about the scratches, and then he talks about the dent. But I want to get to like his conclusions because that's really what's most interesting to me here.
So to where, follow that path back. As it's running, it's constantly monitoring the vehicle. It's looking for like a sudden change of velocity, and like a collision. So once it feels that sudden change of velocity, essentially we'll wake up and monitor the vehicle, see if there's people wearing seatbelts on, what's the speed of the vehicle.
But he talks about this electric data recorder, and he says in his testimony that it didn't record any event like an impact or a collision, but that's not unusual, right? So he testified to. We're going to skip forward a little bit because here comes his data. He has some data. Let's see.
Correct.
And if you could describe to the jury sort of what types of roadway evidence that would lead you or any crash reconstructionists to formulate an opinion as to the area of impact.
Yeah, so like I said earlier with the path of travel. So a lot of collisions most of our collisions we start where the final rest goes, and we follow the debris or the clothing. We're back to where, follow that path back to where it came from. And we know within that area, that's where an area impact would be.
Now, with relation to the evidence that
So he's talking about where the point of impact was and how he figures that out, but we really don't know where the body was. So this is all kind of speculative, in my opinion.
was depicted on the diagrams that were up on the screen before as the exhibits, what, if any, relationship would the taillight pieces and the shoe that were recovered from the street in front of 34 Fairview Road have in relation to that area of impact?
Yeah, so they were found alongside the roadway. So I know that they were found, the air impact had been somewhere within the roadway and probably somewhere at the beginning, just prior to the beginning of the first point of evidence that we found.
So somewhere
So he's saying the point of impact was in the roadway.
towards the first point of evidence contained within that debris field, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, could have one more.
Yes.
Now, sir, are you also familiar with a safety system specifically applicable to Lexus vehicles?
Yes.
And have you received training in regard to downloading information in regard to that as well?
Yes.
And what is that safety system? What is that called?
It's called the Toyota TechStream software.
And so the Toyota TechStream is a software similar to the crash data retrieval or CDR software that you're talking about, but just specific to a Lexus.
Yeah, but it's between Toyota and Lexus has software. The TechStream, it's similar in the fact that they both record data to the vehicle. TechStream was created by Toyota for their technicians to diagnose vehicles and use that information to help, any kind of mechanical issues that they would have with the vehicle that they can do when you bring a car to them. They can look at the TechStream and kind of find out what caused the mechanical issue.
Now, with respect to the Toyota TechStream data that's available, what kind of data are we talking?
So TechStream, yeah, they also did diagnostic stuff. So they're looking for any engine defaults or anything else. But they also have what's called a vehicle control history in it.
Sorry, I missed that. Called what?
A vehicle control history.
Thank you.
And the vehicle control history it's basically monitoring people's driving behavior. So it has certain, they call it triggers that they have listed. And when those triggers are met, they will record data related to that trigger.
And what type of
Yeah, guess what? They have this technology, and guess what? They're selling it to your car insurance company to raise your rates on your insurance. So if anybody's noticed a rate increase lately, this is why, because all this new data is being sold back to your insurance company and others, so that when you added your car to your policy and you say, oh, I only drive around town, I drive about 8,000 miles a year, they now have all of this data to say, oh, no, you don't. Last year you drove 20,000 miles. Therefore, we're jacking up your rates. Just a little fun fact.
data in general terms? What type of data are you able to recover through the Toyota TechStream tool from the vehicle control history?
Yeah, so each trigger, you can record this the same as the you got to get your speeds, brakes, if the accelerator pedal's on, look for steering wheel angles, engine RPMs, all the information that you have related to vehicles.
Now, in addition, is it possible with vehicles that have some vehicles made that are accessible through this Toyota TechStream, including Lexus, which I should say, I'm sorry, so Lexus is manufactured by Toyota, correct?
That's correct.
So it's some vehicles, Toyota or Lexus vehicles are made by that manufacturer equipped with camera systems, is that correct?
Correct.
And again, in general terms, what, if anything, in relation to the camera system is it possible to collect from the vehicle control?
The camera systems in certain vehicles can record photos, like the grainy black and white photos.
Grainy black and white photos.
Cover any black and white photos or photos of any kind from the defendant's vehicle in this case?
It was not.
No,
Now,
no.
with respect to
No photos were taken of any impact or any incident or any collision because that's not unusual.
the sort of physical process of the downloading using this Toyota TechStream tool, can you explain to the jury sort of how that's physically done or what you're doing to the vehicle in order to download that information?
It's the same process, just different software as we would for the airbag control module. As I said before, we plug into the DLC port, and then up that software program, and we follow the steps, and we extract the information from the vehicle.
Now, the extraction of the Toyota TechStream data in this particular case, when was that accomplished?
For this one, I believe it was February 2nd, 2023.
So a year and a day after you had conducted the braking and acceleration test and inspected the vehicle in the Canton Police Department garage.
That's correct.
And so as far as the timing of that being February 2nd of 2023, why was that?
I was at the time of my initial inspection, I didn't really know much about TechStream at that point. So over time, I kind of learned about TechStream. And so once I learned about it and I thought, is this relevant to our case? And I looked more into it and found that it is relevant.
To our case. Okay. So at the time of his inspection, he didn't know anything about Toyota TechStream. Okay. But a year later, he has so much initiative and he's such a go-getter that he eventually learned about Toyota TechStream. Toyota manufactures Lexus, in case you didn't know. And he thought to himself, ding, 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 1 year later, I wonder if Toyota TechStream is relevant to our case. And then all of a sudden he decided to look into it, and here's what he found.
So,
And the Toyota
So-
TechStream, as far as that applicability or that tool,
a big whoop.
is that a relatively newer tool in the area of crash reconstruction?
it is getting fairly newer, as in, like, it's getting spread out. It's getting bigger. It first got created on one vehicle in 2014. So it's been slowly trickling into the Toyotas and Lexus vehicles over time. But it's definitely gotten bigger within the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with regard to this information, when you were then able to download that information, you received some data. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you mentioned that it goes or it's measured sort of by triggers. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And from the data that you were able to obtain from the defendant's vehicle, what type of data were you able to retrieve as it relates to the vehicle control history?
Yeah, so this had like a page and a half full of triggers that over the vehicle's time span that
Page and a half.
that it captured.
And with respect to the triggers, how many triggers did it capture?
It's like a page and a half. I don't know exact numbers of how many triggers that was on each page, but there was, it's at least a good page and a half full of triggers.
Your Honor,
Triggers. All right, let's go to his triggers. It says there's a page and a half of triggers, but again, it's a year later. Do you know how long it took the defense to get a hold of this EDR box? They were fighting about it over pretrial motion. You and I looked at these pretrial motions together. I want to say it was as late as November 2023. I don't recall. Maybe somebody in the chat can put it there. But it's insane.
5 to 12,666, correct?
Correct.
And what was the mileage that you observed on the vehicle at inspection?
12,665.
And at the time that you conducted this Toyota TechStream download from the vehicle, what was the mileage of that?
12,666.
And there's also reference within the vehicle control history data in regard to something called a key cycle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And can you explain to the jury sort of what a key cycle is and what are the different things that could trigger a key cycle?
Key cycle is essentially, so it's from the ignition cycle. Let's take that. Sorry. So a key cycle is essentially from when the vehicle's off, it's pressed on. It doesn't necessarily need to be running or turned on. It just needs to be turned on and then off again. And that'd be one key cycle.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be turned on. So you can just turn on it. You can just put on like the accessory and listen to the radio. And Ashley, this is hilarious. Ashley Lovelace says his lack of expertise is triggering. That's great. That's fantastic. Shannon, single mom here, having a lovely dinner with my youngins. Thank you. And ditto, yes, to all the moms out there who do it all. All the moms out there who are the mom and the dad. Happy Father's Day to you too. So you don't really have to turn it on. He's very uncertain about this testimony, and you're going to see that the data that he pulls out has no dates on it and no places.
Now, with relation to your analysis in regard to the vehicle control history, what, if any, role did the key cycle numbers or what kind of role did that play in your analysis?
It shows me where how far away they were from each other. The key cycles were.
And how far away in what terms?
So when I turned the vehicle on, when I did my testing, it showed me what key cycle was that I was on when I did those testings, and then the odometer mileage in relationship to that.
But no date or time or place.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, ballparking it. They're ballparking it.
So I'm showing you the documents. Just ask you to look at that. Look up when you finish. Introducing the minutes.
All right, let's take a look at this on the big screen.
Now, if you could,
Can't read that. Come on, man.
Direct the jury's attention to what we're looking at in this exhibit and what type of information, where it's located within this exhibit.
Okay, so this is the vehicle control history. every single point here. This is where the triggers are. This is the labels for each trigger.
I'm getting triggered.
Odometer mileage is on this label here. You see elapsed time and key cycles. I have noted through arrows here, these were when the vehicle was with us, and a lot of this is related to my testing with the vehicle. And these right before that were the triggers that were prior to those testings.
Okay. So that's interesting. All right. So his testing, he says that he took the car out for a spin outside the driveway, which was asphalt, and it was wet outside Canton PD. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to make this real big on my screen. And he says that all of these right here, where you see 12665, that he says that's the mileage that the car came in at. So that's when he first started testing it, was when the mileage on the car was 12665. So now if we go back, he says when the vehicle was at mileage 12629, these are highlighted here. The accelerator pedal, opened angle, medium or high. Okay, he's going to testify about what this is, but look at the highlighted portion here. Let's hear what he has to say about this.
Within this table, sir, there are two triggers recorded at odometer mile 12,629.
Yes.
And what's the key cycle associated with 12,629?
1,162.
Now, these triggers that are contained as far as the 12,629, that's prior to the.
Okay, you have to either come closer or speak up even louder, Mr. Lally.
I will speak louder.
There's no microphone near you. That's the problem for the court reporter.
Oh, here's what was going on here. Here's what was going on here. The lights were off in the courtroom, right? And Lally has his pad of notes, and he's over by the podium, which is kind of in front of the front row here, but closer to where Mark Betterow was sitting. And he's at the podium, but it's dark, so he can't read his notes. So he has to go into the back corner of the courtroom, like to try and get some sunlight onto his notes so he can read his questions or his notes. Because, God forbid he question without looking at his notes. I mean, and that's why the judge said, we can't hear. There's no microphone all the way over there, because he was like in the little corner of the courtroom. I had third-hand embarrassment. And you guys keep me laughing in the chat, and that's one of the things that I love most about you. Somebody said I'm triggered to go smash my taillight. Okay, so let's just extrapolate this back, right? If he's saying that these two highlighted portions here are the key cycles that happened right before he started testing the car, in my mind, the last thing that happened where the ignition would have been turned on, because let's just call it an ignition at this point, like normal people try and confuse people with key cycles, would have been the car coming off the tow truck and being driven into the Sallyport garage number 4, right? What's he going to say happened here?
My issue is, Your Honor, there's no light over here.
All right, so let's turn the light
The
on.
light over here.
And then you can ask your question, then we'll turn the light right back off, please.
Thank you. My apologies. So that odometer mile, as far as two triggering events, at 12,629, correct?
Yes.
And that occurs prior to the 12,665, 12,666 during the course of your braking and acceleration test, correct?
Correct.
And the mileage difference between those two, did you do that math?
Yes.
What was the mileage difference between the two?
36.
And how many key cycles were different between your testing and that odometer reading of 12,629?
2 key cycles.
Now, as far as the, what if any information did you have, and where did you get it in relation to the defendant's vehicle's path of travel prior to those odometer readings that you noted when you did your
Yeah. So yeah, I was told that where she traveled afterwards or prior to that. I was noted their locations, and I used those locations through Google to get a mileage for them.
May I approach her?
Yes.
Okay, well, that doesn't make any sense, because they would have had to key cycle the car. They would have had to turn the car on to drive it into the Sallyport, and somebody drove her car from One Meadows to Dighton before it was towed.
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Those are the Google directions. I put them in a table and put in my report.
And Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I'm hoping to introduce the witness.
No objection.
All right, I have 1 minute, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, Caroline. It never should have been done at Canton PD to begin with at all.
May I return to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
No,
And Your Honor, of course, permission if I could publish it to the jury.
Okay.
Canton PD was conflicted out. The car shouldn't have been there at all. The car should have been at Milton Barracks probably. But yeah, they should have road tested it at Fairview, like at the scene, right? Wouldn't that make
Now,
sense?
Trooper Paul, do you recognize what's up on the screen as the next exhibit before you?
Yes, I do.
And these are, again, if you could explain to the jury sort of what we're looking at here.
Oh, he's really good at charts.
These mileage tools.
Yes. So when I got the directions, it showed us we got from 34 Fairview Road to 1 Meadows Ave. And when I put that address onto Google, it gave me suggested routes. So I put each suggested route on there and the time it took. So I did that with every direction from 1 Meadows Ave to Waterfall to 12 Country Lane, and 12 Country Lane to 1 Meadows Ave, and then 1 Meadows Ave to 345 Country Hill Drive, North Dayton. So I did that for every single one and find suggested routes. So which is labeled in all these boxes here. And then at the bottom here, I did a total distance and I did a min and the max distance of, and the minimum was 36.1 and the max distance of 38.8.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to take that down for a minute and I'll see counsel at sidebar, please.
Oh yeah, come to sidebar. Come to sidebar. Thank you, Maureen Francis, so very much for your Cash App. And also Justin Green, who is so awesome. Both of you are so awesome, always coming in with the Cash Apps. And Justin says, David Yanet's chat with you is as good as it gets, I bet. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I was sitting kind of like right behind Karen, but behind Craig, who's the AV squad guy. And this is Paul O'Keefe, John's brother, who glares at Karen quite a bit.
Now, have you also looked at a mileage or distance between, I'm sorry, the first up there was as far as 34 Fairview Road to 1 Meadows Avenue, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that gave you sort of 3 different routes to travel, is that correct?
Yes.
And the minute of the max was 2.2 to 2.6.
Mike, you mean the key cycle chart? Yeah, because they don't know the time and date of any of these events. All they know is what the mileage of the car was. So it really, it's kind of a weird non-issue. Oh, hi, Robin. Hi. I walked by you and your hubby. Everyone there is amazing. They are so amazing. You guys are also amazing.
Correct.
Now, if you were to add that as an additional sort of distance travel to the 36.1 to 38.8 that you had calculated, how much of a difference does that make?
Between the two min maxes?
Yes.
Only 2.7.
And as far as your analysis that we're about to discuss, adding in that approximate 2 points, whatever miles, how much of a difference does that make to your?
This is when I got up to go to the ladies' room and make a phone call. So I was missing. So people were texting me saying, rumor has it that you left. You left. Did you leave? And I'm like, can a girl go to the ladies' room? Really? Because I was sitting right next to Karen's friend here, and these are Karen's parents.
Your analysis and ultimate conclusions in regard to the VCH or vehicle control history data.
As we're going later, but so the 36 is just within the realm that she could have traveled 36. The odometer mileage is the odometer mileage. So 36 is 36. That's what's on the vehicle. So within the realm of possibilities that the vehicle could have traveled 36 miles after the 2 triggers that are in this vehicle.
It's within the realm of possibility that it could have traveled 36 miles. And Christy, I see what you're saying. Key cycle would be every time it's turned on. So some will be short getting on and off the tow truck flatbed, right? But shouldn't they be recorded no matter how long or short they are, right? And according to him, the last key cycle was when he thinks it was driven to Dayton. So I'm confused.
Now, with respect to that minimum and max as far as the 36.1, 38.8, what, if any, relationship does that have to the difference in the odometer readings that you observed between when you conducted the braking test and when you observed these 2 triggering events that you were talking about at the earlier mile?
I said no difference. The odometer mileage is 36.
And so I guess what I'm asking, sir, is the 36 miles, is that within the range of the 2 triggering events that you were just talking about?
Yes, it was.
Now, as far as within your report and your analysis, did you come up with sort of a label as far as these 2 different triggering events that you observed?
Yes, I did.
And that incorporated the mileage, is that correct?
Correct.
And that was, again, 12,629, is that correct?
Yes.
And then as far as any further label that you put on it, how did you label it?
I laid them as in when they occurred. One's 12,629A and one other one's 12,629B.
And with respect to the A and B, which one occurred first?
The A occurred first.
And may I approach, Ron?
Yes.
The car was towed by Diamond Towing. That witness is, I believe, also on the witness list for the defense.
Another document asking you to
The tow truck driver.
And do you recognize that?
I do. It's the data chart from the 12,629 miles A chart.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Almost.
Exactly. Why don't they have someone from Toyota testifying? I agree.
The 593.
Key cycles are each time turned on.
Yes.
Only triggering events are logged. But if you turn it on, isn't that a triggering event?
Yes.
I need someone to explain this to me like I'm 5.
So with the document before you, what's now up on the screen, do you recognize that as what's?
It's like a golf scorecard
I do.
Is if you could
with a lot more holes.
describe to the jury sort of what these rows indicate as far as what information is there, and if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observed in this as far as 12,629 miles A.
Okay. So each row starting from the top is the vehicle control history time, which is the time that's recorded in the module itself or in the software that gets recorded as each time, and it's recorded as seconds. This time is the time from the start of the key cycle. So it starts off with 652.8, and each one is incremented in approximately half-second increments up to, let me show it, right here where the trigger, this is what's called where the trigger happened. So right here is where it kind of goes from 4.5 to 4.6, then it goes up to 5, then everything after that is about half-second increments from each other. Recorded 10 seconds of time, which is labeled in this one, total time of 10 seconds. And I'll just put time from trigger, just kind of label it back to, here's the trigger right here. And that's the time between each one. Sorry if I can read this right. So right here, this is the vehicle speeds. The blue is just labeled because that's the speed. Zeros are labeled as a light blue is a 0. So if I could read this. So this starts from, shows that the vehicle is traveling at 9.9 miles per hour. It's slowing down to about 0 right here, and then stops for that time, and then increases back, speeds back up to, it goes up to 6.2, and then slows back down to 0, and then back up to 1.7 to, I think it's 8.7. If I read that right. The next below for us is miles per hour to kilometers. This is the accelerator opening ratio, which is really where this trigger comes from, because the trigger is labeled as the accelerator pedal opening angle is medium to higher immediately after shifting to reverse, or they label it as R.
If I could stop you there just
Yep.
for a second. So as far as the accelerator pedal opening angle, can you explain to the jury sort of what that term means and how that relates to sort of the operation of the vehicle?
So the accelerator pedal is, the part where everybody puts the foot on and gets the vehicle to go. So the pedal, so this is what's showing how far the pedal was actually pressed by the operator of the vehicle. And that gives you a percentage of that. So if it was, on zeros, not pressed, and 100%, it's all the way down. So they label the trigger, I think 30% is medium to higher in this way Toyota labels it. So and that's where you'll see the trigger is around 31.5%. And also shows start from the beginning, goes from 0 and increases up to 50.5%, 50.5%. And that's 5 seconds. That's only
No way.
a little over a second past the trigger. And so it's 50% and then back off, and then back onto the accelerator again, up to 34%.
Now, as far as this data is concerned with the VCH data from the Toyota tech screen, what, if any, information are you able to glean as far as directionality, as far as forward, reverse, left, right, things like that from this data?
So on this label right here, so it shows the shift position signal. 1 is forward and 2 is reverse. So this right here is showing the vehicle was in drive and going forward, and then the vehicle got shifted into reverse, and then back to drive again.
Now, from your experience and from your training when it comes to interpreting this type of data, do you have any opinion as to sort of what type of maneuver or what type of actions the vehicle was taking during the course of this triggering event?
Yes, this appears the vehicle was slowing down and making a U-turn. Because also the other thing into it, it shows steering signal, and the steering wheel will show that she was driving left and then right and the back left again, and also when she's on the brake switch.
Thanks. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down. And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
She's like, yes, please approach.
Sir, if I could just retrieve one down before.
So,
The document that I've just handed you now, do you recognize that?
yes,
And what do you recognize that to be?
it's the one, the 12,000, the data chart from my report as labeled as 12,629 miles B.
So that's the second triggering event within this same mileage reading on the odometer, same key cycle.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Come on, seek to do for minutes of next exhibit.
No objection.
Good night, Patronus Glow. Thank you for being here with us.
I'll get just one moment, Your Honor.
Aquaria, we're with you. She says, I'm having trouble focusing here.
Yes, and for the sake of taking the best use of our time, if they're in evidence for the rest of this afternoon, both of you can then just ask to, just go ahead and put them up and not ask for permission this time.
She said, the rage I feel from gaslighting is so intense. I think my brain goes into defense mode and blacks me out. Stay safe. Stay safe, Aquaria.
And to recall, you
Breathe
recognize
with
what's
us.
on the screen now.
I do.
This is the VCH data chart from that same mileage or the second triggering event as far as 12,629 miles peak, correct?
Correct.
And again, this is in the same odometer range as well as the same key cycle as what was just up on the screen as far as 12,629 miles A, correct?
Yes.
And this occurs after A, is that fair to say?
Correct.
Now, similar to before, when it comes to this VCH data up on the screen, if you could, using the laser pointer, demonstrate to the jury what, if anything, of significance you note as with respect to this data.
So for this one, same label as before, as you said. The vehicle control history time is, if I can see that, the trigger time is 1,142.2 seconds after key cycle. And this one shows the same thing, 10 seconds of data. And it was good. So the vehicle speed on this one shows that she's slowing down. It's 13.7 miles per hour and gets down to 0. Then she's down to 0 for a while, and then the vehicle speed increases up to 24.2 miles per hour at its max speed. Then it goes down to 23.6 as the last two labels. And the accelerator pedal angle at this point at key trigger is 36.5 and increases up to 74.5%. And it stays around 74.5%, 74, 73.5, and 74.
Now, that's 74.5% as far as the pressure being applied to the accelerator pedal, correct?
Correct.
And with respect to that 74.5, that's about 3/4 down, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to this data from 1269 miles B, what, if anything, are you able to tell from this data as far as when that occurred in relation to 1269A?
So they occurred about approximately 8 minutes. So 1269A occurred 8 minutes prior to the other one, and they both occurred within on the same odometer mileage.
Now,
But we don't know the
with respect
date or
to
time.
Duration of the data that you were able to obtain from this one, specifically 12629 miles. B,
Great point.
what kind
Perfect.
of, duration of data are we looking at in this particular table or chart?
Say that again.
And Lisa?
How long a period of time does this?
So this is from the start of key cycle, or this whole this one?
Just this one.
Okay. So this is 10 seconds of data.
And with respect to that 10 seconds of data, as far as the 24.2 miles per hour,
No,
when does that occur
the jury was not engaged in this testimony. It is not making sense. There was a lot of quizzical looks.
within the 10 seconds of data for this particular event?
So 24.2, as I'll point out, is right here. It's actually around the 9-second mark.
Now, similar to the other charts for A that was up on the screen a moment before, is there an indication as far as the accelerator pedal opening angle?
Yes.
And what, if any, significance does that have, or what, if anything, does that indicate to you from this data on the screen?
It shows that the accelerator pedal angle went up to 74.5%. So as out of 100%, it went up to 74.5%.
Exactly.
Now, with
Side Barbie.
respect, to directionality for this, what, if any, data is contained within this chart in respect to that?
Yeah, so on the bottom row, it shows the steering signal. It shows it slowing down zeros like 0.5, 9, 13.5, 13.5. I think it's 13.5, 0, 4.5. And we're talking about steering wheel. How far does the steering wheel move from left to right? So that's the degrees of a steering wheel angle.
Now, as far as when the vehicle is shifted sort of from drive or neutral or park or whatever it was, at some point, is there an indication in this data set on this table as far as when the vehicle was placed into reverse?
Yes.
And how far into this 10-second data set was the vehicle placed into reverse?
At 4 seconds, it's right here.
And so, am I correct then that there is a 5-second difference between 4 seconds when it's placed in reverse
Ding,
and
ding,
9
ding.
seconds approximately when it achieves that 24.2 miles per hour?
Correct.
Now, as far as the 74.5% pressure that's placed on the accelerator pedal, when is that reported in seconds in relation to the 10-second data set in this data?
74.5 starts at the 8-second.
Now, as far as this trigger is concerned, I understand from your testimony that the maximum speed is 24.2. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the vehicle speed recorded at the end of this 10-second data set?
23.6.
Ah, here's
Now-
the reverse engineering and where it comes in.
As far as the vehicle being in sort of different sets, as far as drive, reverse, things of that nature, what, if anything, did you observe within this data set as far as how it is at the beginning, how it changes at all? What happens with regard to that in the data set?
So this one shows that the vehicle was in drive. It starts off in drive. It's slowing down to 0, and it goes to 0, which is neutral. Then it goes down. Then it goes into reverse. So it's going straight. It stops. Then it's placed in reverse, and then goes back. Goes in reverse.
Now, as far as
All right, Samantha, this is where your comment's going to come in handy from earlier. There was only one key cycle between the testing and the trigger drive. She drove twice after the 12 a.m. drive, 5 a.m. to her folks. Oh, 5 a.m., right, when she left to go to Jen McCabe's, and then back to One Meadows. And then to her folks. So really that would be 3, right? Because at 5 a.m., she leaves. I think Jen McCabe said she left her car running in Jen McCabe's driveway, and then they drove it back, right? So that would have been right. Maybe that was one key cycle. And then the second drive to her folks. And then you say the trigger drive has to be the 5 a.m. drive. I hope AJ saw that. Thank you, Samantha. That makes more sense now to pull your comment up now.
the reverse is concerned, you indicated there's also some steering angles that are recorded with this data.
Yes.
And what, if anything, was recorded in this 10 seconds of data? Specifically, I'm asking from the time that it goes to reverse to the end of the set, the end of the data set. What, if anything, do you observe with reference to the change in the steering angle of the steering wheel?
It does not change much. It's only 13. I think the far it goes is left is at 13.5%. So that's only, I mean, if the steering wheel's a circle, the whole circle's 360 degrees. So 13.5% is only, and it's still fairly straight in the vehicle and at 13.5%.
So from this data, this vehicle is backing up in the manner of about 5 seconds or so, in a fairly straight line, and achieves a maximum speed of 24.2 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And even at the end of this data set, the vehicle is still traveling approximately 23.6 miles per hour.
Correct.
Now, as far as the small deviations in the steering that you were testifying about, based on your training and experience, what, if anything, would cause that?
Well, the steering wheel was obviously caused by operator
Right. Mama, too. Her tires could have been spinning on the snow and ice. You're right.
traveling only small amounts, right, and up to here. So it's only just operator steering at those small deviations.
No, they have no time because they don't have any times. All they have is odometer readings.
Yes.
Jess Spouting says, I think the trigger drive is her leaving John O'Keefe's driveway. Remember, her brother was brushing the snow off because the two they are talking about are the ones after the mileage to her dad's.
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
It's a more of a closer up snippet of that document that I have attached to my report.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Hard practice. How long does he introduce the next exhibit?
No, Jesse,
You can go ahead. You can go ahead and publish it if you're inclined to.
Trooper Paul, once we leave it up on the screen as this next exhibit, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observed in this portion of the data.
Yeah, so I circled in here to drop from 24.2 to 23.6, and also the steering wheel signal went from a left at 4.5 to a right 4.5, so positive to a negative. And also the same thing with the accelerator opening ratio kind of stays consistent at 74%.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, so keep in mind that their entire theory of the case, the Commonwealth, is based on this man's notion a year later that he should learn this Toyota tech stream data because maybe it would have something to do with this case. Because remember, their original theory was the 3-point turn, that she made a 3-point turn because that's what Proctor says he told her when he went to interview her at her parents' house before he towed her car. And that is what Matt McCabe originally said in his statement, that he saw a 3-point turn wave pattern in the street. But that theory was put to rest when Trooper Joseph Paul decided to learn the Toyota tech stream data and allegedly pulled this information from her car, which doesn't tell us anything other than what the odometer reading said at the time this happened. So now they tried to reverse engineer their theory to conform with this data that was pulled a year after the accident. You picking up what I'm laying down? So that's essentially what he's saying. I want to get to the point where he tells us what he thinks happened in this accident. He's going to show a lot of pictures of the interior. You know, the backup camera was working. We all went out in the Sallyport driveway. We drove it forwards and backwards, 25 feet, 25 miles an hour. It worked. The backup camera worked. Nothing was not functioning with the vehicle. Therefore, she must have intentionally hit him. All the cameras were working. But did he testify about his head hitting the curb during voir dire? Hold on a second. Hold on.
With the pedestrian strike.
It's the sudden change of speed at 24. Yeah.
What, if any, type of collision is that data set consistent with, and what?
Yeah, there's a point there where it appears to be consistent with a pedestrian strike.
This is his
And
conclusion.
why is it that your interpretation of that data you feel is consistent with the pedestrian strike?
It's the sudden change of speed at 24.2 to 23.6 and a half second, while the accelerator pedal is still at a consistent 74%. And also the steering wheel angle goes left at 4.5 degrees and also goes right to 4.5 degrees and then goes back to left after that. So right at that spot is something that's consistent with a pedestrian strike.
Consistent with a pedestrian strike. It doesn't indicate a pedestrian. It's consistent with. Because remember, the electric data recorder did not pick up a collision of any kind. But he's saying that this Toyota tech stream data is consistent with a pedestrian strike.
With respect to Mr. O'Keefe, the pedestrian in this collision, what, if any, data were you able to see or review in relation to your reconstruction analysis in this case?
Say
As far as Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, did you learn about his injuries?
Injuries, here we go.
Like what types of injuries he had?
Yes.
Yeah, there were blunt force injuries. I mean, it was abrasions or lacerations, and blunt force injuries.
And the injuries that you observed or that you were informed about, that you learned this from the medical examiner, is that correct?
Correct.
And with respect to the injuries Mr. O'Keefe was recorded as having sustained, according to the medical examiner, what, if any, relationship did those injuries have to you in relation to a pedestrian collision?
Sorry, say it again.
As far as
Nobody
the
understood
injuries
the
that you were
question.
Informed by the medical examiner that Mr. O'Keefe had sustained.
Yes.
What, if any, relationship did those injuries have in relation to a pedestrian collision?
They are consistent with a pedestrian collision.
Yeah.
And how so?
How so?
Due to, I mean, you can break down each injury due to the arm, the lacerations of the arm from the tail light.
The lacerations of the arm from the taillight. This is his opinion. The lacerations of the arm from the taillight. Okay. Was it from the exploding pieces of the taillight? Or did the taillight break when it made contact with his arm? And that caused all of those lacerations all the way up his right forearm and upper arm. So what? He was holding his arm out and the taillight exploded and okay. That's what his opinion is, okay? Take it back a second.
You can break down each injury due to the arm, the lacerations of the arm from the tail light.
Lacerations of the arm from the taillight, okay.
The dent with the scratches for his hand could be.
The dent with the scratches from where his hand could be. So his hand would cause a dent in the car and scratches because he had really long fingernails.
Those are something that would be consistent with this in this particular case with striking the Lexus.
Really, in this particular case, that would indicate that he was hit by the Lexus. Okay.
Now, specifically with reference to this case, what, if any, analysis did you conduct with regard to kinematics?
Yes, I did a kinematics analysis in my report. Kinematics deals with the aspect of motion.
And again, I'm sorry, if you could expound
Yeah.
upon that just a little bit and explain to the jury sort of what a kinematics analysis is.
So kinematics analysis is, like I said, it deals with the aspects of motion. Pedestrian crashes get labeled in certain types of how they interact. So in this particular case, I kind of labeled it as it's a forward projection crash with a side swipe. And what I mean by forward projection means that when a pedestrian gets struck by a vehicle, well, basically their principal impact forces are above the pedestrian center of gravity, as in this case where you get the higher back of the vehicle. When you get struck by something like that, it projects you forward in the direction of the vehicle. And in this situation where he gets more struck to the side of the vehicle on the taillight area, that it projected him to forward and then to the left due to this more of a side swipe manner.
Okay, so the passenger side, his side swipe forward and to the left. Okay, got it.
Now, with respect
Did he have paint under his nails, Colleen? They took fingernail clippings. Did they ever tell us if he had paint under his nails? I don't know. Must have forgot that part of the testimony already.
to the, you mentioned the height of the vehicle, as far as the shape of the back of the vehicle, what, if any, relationship does that have in regard to you sort of labeling this as a forward projection / side swipe collision?
Yeah, due to being pretty flat, it's not the front of the vehicle where you have the hood and the pedestrian staying above the hood. It's the back of the vehicle. It's pretty flat and it's pretty higher up.
Oh, it was hard, Stephanie. It was hard not to laugh out loud. I kind of almost did.
You made aware through your review of the medical examiner's report that there was injury to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head.
Yes.
And based on your training experience in particular through pedestrian collisions, what, if any, significance did that have in relation to your opinion as to how Mr. O'Keefe interacted with the defendant's vehicle?
So
How he interacted with the defendant's vehicle. Okay, that's a really weird use of phraseology.
when you look at the damage, he would have interacted with that left side of the vehicle. And when he got struck by the vehicle on the left side, it would have caused his vehicle to rotate kind of clockwise. And then when that
Kind of clown clockwise. Not the vehicle, you mean his body? Okay, listen to this mumbo jumbo, okay? I know you've been sleeping, but wake up now because this is great.
interacted with that left side of the vehicle. And when he got struck by the vehicle on the left side, it would have caused his vehicle to rotate kind of clockwise. And then when that rotation, he could turn it into his back, and his back could have struck the ground. I noted at the scene that there was asphalt curbing, which could have, somewhere he could have struck his head in there, or somewhere along any of the pavement would have caused damage.
Okay, his head would have caught damage, so his head was cracked open on the asphalt curbing.
Most forward projection crashes have damage on both sides of the body.
Why is that?
Due to them get projected forward, so they get hit from behind, they would have damage to the back, and then when they get projected forward, they get damage to the front. So, I mean, in this case, he got projected and got spun counterclockwise.
He got spun. He got spun, but he landed on his back, remember, too. He landed on his back, but he got spun around, cracked his head open on the curb, and then what? Chitty chitty bang bang, flew away, and then he flew 10 feet in the air towards maybe the flagpole? But we're not really sure where.
Where he got impacted the vehicle.
Oh, chitty you, chitty 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 bang bang,
Now,
chitty
with
chitty bang bang,
regard
we
to
love
the
you.
Vehicle speeds, kinematically speaking, from your analysis in respect to that, what, if anything, can you say in relation to, just in general terms, as far as a pedestrian collision is concerned, how much of that vehicle speed would a pedestrian be assuming in the context of a pedestrian collision with a forward projection?
Forward projection will have almost 100% speed post-impact. And more, like I said, in this case, it's more the fact that he didn't get 100%, like his center of mass didn't strike the vehicle, so he would not have been thrown 100% of the vehicle speed post-impact. His right side would have sustained the vehicle speed, and that would cause him to spin out. So as opposed to traditional forward projection, if he was right there in the middle of the vehicle, he would have got projected forward, and he would have sustained, his full body would have sustained the vehicle speed.
Is that abnormal as far as the sort of forward projection type of pedestrian collision? And what I'm going to ask is specifically to not having any contact with sort of the bottom of the vehicle or being run over or something like that. Can you expound upon that a little?
Yeah, due to the side swipe manner that projected him off to the left, it wouldn't show that he would have been, the car would have ran over him and traveled over him. Like traditional.
Yeah.
The car would.
I'm going to ask you to slow down. Just
It would have traveled over him, except
Sorry.
there was no blood or tissue
Yes,
or
so
anything underneath.
due to the
the car.
situation in this scene where he got projected to the left and by rotated, it would have rotated away from the vehicle, and his body would not have traveled under the vehicle as you do in like most a lot of traditional forward projection crashes. The vehicle would get tracked forward ahead of the vehicle, and that vehicle could possibly travel over that pedestrian.
Yeah.
So
But-
that is not what you found in this particular pedestrian collision, correct?
Correct.
I know you've mentioned it a couple times, but if I could ask you to just expound a little bit when you're talking about
Expound a
center
little
of
bit on
mass,
your
and
ridiculous
how that
assumptions.
relates, between
All right.
sort of a pedestrian and a vehicle in a pedestrian type collision.
So pedestrians, almost every object has a center mass. Pedestrians is the same. So a pedestrian center mass is essentially obviously the half the body, and you would also put down is around the chest area, just below the chest area would be a center of mass for a pedestrian, and they all range based on height and body shape.
And so where on someone's body typically would a center of mass be located?
Usually just around the chest area or just below the chest area.
Now, if I could turn your attention, Trooper Paul, back to February 1st of 2022, when you were at the Canton Police Department. You mentioned that, or you testified earlier at some point that you went outside to an asphalt roadway surface and conducted some forward acceleration and rear acceleration braking tests, correct?
So
Correct.
basically, that's his opinion. And then what happens next is that Lally starts to show him the video from One Meadows. And let's get to that portion. A lot of like photos of the inside of the car. I don't know where he's going with most of this stuff. But then he starts showing him the video of Karen pulling out of One Meadows driveway, something like 5:07 a.m. And that's when Jackson objects. I won't pain you with all of his testimony.
Session on Wednesday.
And then she talks about the schedule. She lets the jury go. And now we're going to have the jury is gone.
153.
And this is a voir dire of what Lally wants to introduce with this witness. And take a look at how you can see all the red from the taillight coming, both taillights coming out.
Now, Trooper, from your observations from this video, at some point, this vehicle either comes close or makes contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, in addition to your observations of this video and your observations of the defendant's vehicle, at some point, have you also seen photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
Yes.
And is your understanding that those photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle were taken by State Police Crime Scene Services on February 3rd? Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with reference to your observations in this vehicle, what I'm going to ask you is in regard to the significance that you observe, significance of the impact between the two vehicles. In respect to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what, if anything, did you observe on his vehicle at that time?
At the photos or now?
Right now.
Oh, right now. There was snow on the vehicle.
And then with respect to the contact between the defendant's vehicle and victim, Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what, if anything, did you observe to occur with relation to the snow based on the significance of the impact between the two?
The snow doesn't move.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could press play at this time.
Snow doesn't move, so she must not have hit his car. But if the snow was wet, would it move? It would be sticking to his car again. And here we go. We're gonna watch it pull out.
All
Oh,
right.
look! Oh, look at that! Look at that! The entire taillight is intact. Look at that.
Can I see the other video?
And at this
Please.
point, Craig, the AV guy, had put away all his equipment. He thought he was done, and then she wanted to see the defense video. Then he had to put all his stuff back together. I felt bad for him. But.
Yes, I think it's on.
A lot of caffeine,
I know it's
Aaron.
in
A
evidence,
lot
but
of
I think it's on
caffeine.
Your computer, your hard drive.
Watch the blown up version that the defense gives you. And tell me if you see that wheel move, because the judge is going to say, oh, I didn't see it move. See it move? I saw it move. And again, there's the taillight. Looking good, looking good. Lots of oh, look, the brakes are on and it's all red. Did you see that? She hit the brakes and it's all red.
All right. Thank you. Okay, could you turn the lights on, please?
Your Honor, if I could, there's just 2 photographs that I'd like to.
Sure.
Purposes. Ms. Gilman, if I could have.
Remember, the jury's
what's
not
now
there.
been marked as Exhibit 549.
And before you do that, what is the exhibit we just saw through your IT person? What
Your Honor, it's
number?
the same exhibit. It has not been enhanced in any way. It was just magnified for purposes of this, of showing it. In other words,
Mhm.
the magnification is not embedded in the video. It's the
Okay.
same video.
Okay.
We just magnified it.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
And Trooper, do you recognize what's up on the screen now?
Yes.
And what are we looking at, and which area of the vehicle are we looking at?
It's the rear, sorry, John O'Keefe's car.
The driver's side, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, relationship does this portion of the vehicle we're looking at here have in relation to the video that we just watched?
It was faced, well, kind of you see it
Sorry,
from.
what was the answer? I
It
didn't
was,
hear.
sorry, it was faced kind of the same way you see the back left rear corner of the vehicle as you do in this picture here.
It's moved from its
And this
location
looks
where
like,
she hit it.
What's now been marked as Exhibit 559.
Don't know when this photo was taken. Is there metadata?
Sir, is this the same driver's side rear of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
Yes, it is.
Now, as far as
It's not where she impacted the car. You can look. If she broke her taillight, she would have impacted the car much higher up than this photo depicts. But, you know, that's just me and my common sense talking.
your observations of these photographs, what, if any, damage did you observe to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle in either the last exhibit or this exhibit itself?
There was no damage.
Now, as far as the impact,
That's not where it hit, that's right.
Observed to the taillight area of the defendant's vehicle. What, if any, opinion do you have as to the amount of force necessary in order to cause that damage?
Objection.
We need a foundation on this.
So, Trooper, over the course of your, I'm sorry, how many crashes have you investigated over your time with the cars unit?
I've been primarily on 196 crashes.
And I know I'd asked you before about pedestrian crashes. Fair to say most of the remainder, if not all the remainder, involves vehicles colliding with other vehicles.
Correct.
Now, with respect to that experience in relation to vehicle crashes, what, if any, training or knowledge do you have in regard to sort of physical forces of vehicles in a collision sequence, and what kind of damage you would anticipate?
So obviously, the higher the speed, the more damage. The lower speed, the less damage.
And what, if any, from the observation that you made in that video and the observations that you made of the defense vehicle, what you observed in the video, was that consistent with the damage that you observed to the defense vehicle?
Objection.
So I'm going to allow this for voir dire. I just need to hear this information.
Understood, Your Honor. Thank you.
It is not consistent with the tail light in this collision.
And why not?
For one thing, the collision, the tail light is, what I say, 42 to 50 inches off the ground. So that vehicle would have to have damage 42 to 50 inches off the ground, because they would have had to contact each other in the same distance from the ground, and there's no damage to that vehicle. So if the taillight breaks, it should leave some sort of scratching, maybe a dent, something on some
Not
sort of
necessarily.
damage to that vehicle should have occurred.
But
And
AJ will take care of that.
with respect to, I think you just answered it. So as far as Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what kind of damage would you expect from an impact significant enough to break the plastic on the tail light of the defendant's vehicle?
It'd be probably higher speed than what we saw.
For purposes of voir dire, I need to hear all of this. Go ahead.
A higher speed than what we probably would saw in there. If it's not, it was minimal. Maybe it would crack a tail light or something like that, but it wouldn't. I mean, the damage is different. And also, we have a bumper that's also in the way too.
And to that
Elizabeth, I think he said as primary, so maybe reconstruction, 196 crashes.
point, Drew, but when it comes to a bumper, from a functional standpoint, what is a bumper and what does it do with respect to a vehicle and a collision?
What is a bumper?
The bumper is, it's basically meant as another cushion to absorb the impact to another vehicle, from one vehicle to another vehicle. And it kind of sticks out to kind of also preserve whatever, the tail lights and everything else and damage on top of it.
So in order, from your experience as far as responding and investigating collisions, specifically collisions between motor vehicles, the speed that you observed the defendant's vehicle traveling in that video, what, if any, relationship does that have specifically as also as to the bumper, as to the damage that you observed for the defendant's vehicle?
All right, this is good. Let me slow this
So
down.
if you look at the defendant's vehicle, there is a scratch mark that is along the left side starts from her bumper around the rear. That could be consistently with his hitting his bumper. That would be around the same height level. He has a little ridge there on his bumper. So that bumper could have been hit that little ridge.
Little ridge.
And also the bumper in itself, and here is a different material. Hers is a little lighter, like a glossy colored paint. This is more a duller flat finish. So it might have why it would show up on her bumper more than it would show up on his bumper.
So she did hit his car.
Finally, sir, in your opinion, the damage to the defendant's taillight is that something that could have occurred or could have been caused by the crash or the contact of the vehicles that you observed in that video?
Objection.
No.
So again, this is voir dire, Mr. Jackson, going in here.
No.
And again, sir, why not?
For one thing, the bumpers, you have to go push through the bumpers in order to hit the tail light against the other vehicle.
Oh,
And there's no damage to
Based
that
on-
significant damage to a bumper in order to push back into the car.
And again, there was no snow on the vehicle. By that, I mean Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle that even came off the vehicle that you observed during the course of that contact between the two vehicles.
That's correct.
I have nothing further on.
oh, good.
All right, Mr.
Because here it
Jackson.
comes.
Put the two cars together?
I did not.
No, you didn't.
Oh, sorry, I was talking over him because this was fire. He's not happy.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever put the two cars together?
I did not.
No, you didn't, did you? You never tested whether or not the SUV would match up with the Traverse, did you?
What do you mean?
You
What do you
just
mean?
said, oh, look, one of them has matte finish, one of them has glossy finish, so it couldn't have happened, right?
No, I'm confused by the question. I'm talking about the tail light. We're talking about the tail light.
Yeah,
Are we talking about the tail light? Or are we talking about the bumper?
yeah, we were talking about the taillight.
So one person at a time, you both are talking over each other.
You started talking about the bumpers.
Yes.
You said, well, one has matte finish and one has glossy finish, right?
Yes.
And you said, well, you'd expect one of them to slide off of each other, and they could have done this and they could have done that, right?
Not slide off each other.
You were suggesting that the two cars wouldn't match up such that the taillight could make contact with any part of the Traverse. That's what you were suggesting.
I'm saying it didn't match up because there's no damage to the Traverse.
You didn't test whether or not the lens, the right rear lens on the SUV could match up to any part of the Traverse, right? And make contact, physical contact with it, right?
When I see a picture of the Traverse,
Yes or no?
when I see the
You
picture
know,
of the
this is a
Traverse,
voir dire. I need the information, Mr.
you asked me a
Jackson.
question.
Yeah,
I said when I-
yes or no question, Trooper.
I don't think so, but
Mr. Jackson, just for, there's no jury here.
I
This
realize
is,
that.
this is for purposes of what I have to rule on. The more information I have, the better off I am in being able to rule on it.
Let me take a breath.
That's an example of what I'm talking about. Like when you see it on TV, you may think she's being like snippy or, but she's really not. Like her vibe in the courtroom is way different than the way we see it on TV. Like she was genuinely like, listen, just, come on. It's been a long day. We've all been here for a long time. Please just, the jury's not here. She was not in any way being rude. I didn't take it that way at all. And also we've been waiting all day for this. Like we sat through so many hours of testimony just to be able to hear Alan Jackson speak because the first witness on Celebrate was not really crossed at all. Maybe there was like 3 questions, and we've been waiting all day for this. So finally, let us see something. But I get what she's saying.
So this is information.
You
Mr.
asked me a
Jackson.
question.
Yeah,
I said when
yes or no question, Trooper.
I don't think so, but
Mr. Jackson, just for, there's no jury here.
I
This
realize
is,
that.
this is for purposes of what I have to rule on. The more information I have, the better off I am in being able to rule on it.
Let me take a breath.
So this is you trying to keep the evidence out. So you want to give me the information.
Understood. Did you or did you not ever do a test where you backed the Lexus up against the Traverse?
we did not.
Did you or did you not ever do a test where you put the 2 cars together and measured them?
No,
Did you ever measure the taillight of the SUV, the black SUV, against any area on that Traverse?
no,
Did you ever do any force multiplier tests to determine the forces necessary to crack the SUV's convex taillight?
no,
Did you ever do any testing to determine whether or not a plastic taillight, under how much pressure a plastic taillight would need to be subjected before it would crack?
no,
Did you ever do any testing to determine whether or not if a plastic taillight came in contact with a metallic portion of another SUV, whether it would leave any mark?
haven't done any testing. I've seen crashes where headlights have struck other vehicles. That's
Okay.
kind of where the experience comes from.
Fair enough. But I'm guessing that those crashes are probably different speeds and higher speeds. Not this, right?
I've had multiple crashes at different speeds.
So have you ever
Well,
had
yes.
a crash where you've investigated, the Massachusetts State Police has been brought in to investigate a crash where the car was going in reverse at about a half a mile an hour?
Half a mile an hour?
Whatever that was.
He's so confused.
Are you saying the SUV Lexus is going half a mile per hour?
Well, you're the reconstructionist. Give me an estimate of how fast you think that SUV was going at the point of contact with the Traverse.
Maybe like 1-2 miles per hour?
Okay, fair enough. Have you ever been called in to a crash, to investigate a crash, where the cars have collided at 1 mile an hour?
I've had pedestrian crashes that have been at a very low speed.
Okay, that wasn't my question.
the belt
That
come
wasn't
off?
My question.
Did the
Okay.
shoe come
My
off?
question is, have you been called in to a crash involving 2 vehicles
Yeah.
that have made contact at about a mile an hour?
I have seen testing for vehicles at low speeds. So next time I have been called to a crash, I go to fatality crashes, but I have seen testing for vehicles at low speed impacts,
Can you just say no?
How low speed?
like just the bump.
So like this?
Yes,
Did you see any damage?
yes. All right, well, minimal damage.
In what
Ah,
sense? Minimal damage? Like,
yes, I saw damage at a speed like this, but no minimal damage. Walk it back, walk it back, walk it back. Give me some dig emojis in the chat, members.
I don't know, like a cracked taillight.
No, like just a little bit of rub off on the paint.
Rub off.
Or you might see nothing, right?
Yes,
You've certainly seen circumstances in which 2 cars come in contact and there's absolutely no physical damage to either car, nothing observable, right?
have I gone to
Sure.
crashes that have seen no physical damage on a car?
Or just in common sense, just everyday life, where one car backs into another car at the Jiffy Lube, makes contact,
Jiffy
runs
Lube
away,
has entered
and
the
there's no
chat.
damage.
Not normally. It's usually something with car and car impacts.
Like, what's the something?
A crack or a paint, something chip, scratches.
Cracked, like a cracked taillight.
So if you put a piece of metal in that scenario, if you put a piece of metal, steel, right,
Uh-huh.
against a piece of plastic, which one do you think is going to give way first?
You'll still see some damage to both vehicles
Which
at
one
a speed.
Which one would give way first?
Crack.
Between metal, depends what speeds. And what we're talking about, you're just saying plastic and metal. You're giving a pretty general, broad plastic and metal
Trooper Paul,
analysis here.
you admit, you got to agree with me, that there are circumstances in which low speed, very, very low speed contact between 2 cars can certainly leave damage on one and not damage on the other, damage on both, or no damage on either one. Observe it.
Yes, I just said in that situation where the scratch on the side of her car
Right.
had a scratch mark and his doesn't appear to have anything.
And you said under questioning by Mr. Lally that certain circumstances like this could lead to a lens material, right, plastic material cracking, right?
Say again, like on least.
Just a few minutes ago, Mr. Lally.
I'm just going to answer your question. Sorry. Yes.
Mr. Lally asked you a question a few minutes ago, and you indicated that something might show up on a bumper. Something might, something might, like a taillight, might actually crack, correct? In a low speed impact.
A taillight might crack in a low speed impact?
Correct.
Yeah, it might crack.
Okay, now, Mr. Lally also said you saw this video where the cars come close to or make contact, right? That's how he worded the question. Remember that?
Come close. Yep.
Which one is it? Did it come close or did it make contact?
I said it might. I don't know if that scratch from the side is. It's something that's consistent with the height of the bumper. Like I said, I didn't measure them side by side, but
Measure
you
anything.
can clearly see there's a scratch on the side, and that's something that looks like that would come back. So as I look at the bumper, and I see the bumper, and it has that little divot, and I look at her side of her car with that scratch.
Divot. He just said that the Traverse had a little divot, right? Didn't he just say that the Traverse had a little divot? But he's going to walk that back too because he wasn't supposed to say that.
You can clearly see there's a scratch on the side, and that's something that looks like that would come back. So as I look at the bumper, and I see the bumper, and it has that little divot, and I look at her side of her car with that scratch mark, that kind of lines up a little bit of why that could be where that was from.
I thought you said there was no damage on that car, on the Traverse.
There is no damage, and that's why I went to why there's these two different paint materials there. That why one could have showed up on her car because it's that flat, the glossy paint on there, and it could have scratched on it. While you have something that's a little more rougher texture with like a flat, flat color on there that wouldn't leave on there.
So you just described the circumstance in which two cars come in contact. You don't see any observable damage on one, and you do on the other. That's what
I just
described, right?
Yeah, I suggested that when you asked me that a second ago.
Yeah. With regard to the video, let's get back to the question that I asked, which was,
Cue the
in that
sirens.
video, did the SUV come close to, or did it come in contact with the Traverse?
Again, I don't know because I'm saying based off the damage that is something consistent with that. So
Sir.
most likely it did
Trooper.
come in contact with the bumper to bumper,
Bubba.
but I don't know definitively because there is no damage to his car.
Joe
but it's
Paul.
something that could be explained why there's a scratch mark alongside the right rear side of his car,
Did you
or her
see-
car.
Did you see the tire move, sir? Did you see the wheel on the Traverse move in that video?
No, I couldn't see the wheel move.
Okay. All right. Thank God, Wendy, the jury's not here right now listening to this, but you're right. His testimony really scares me because juries believe in this garbage. He's not an expert. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for that. Because yes, that is scary. That's why they have the voir dire, because they want to keep it out. So the judge has to know what he's going to testify to decide whether or not he should be allowed to testify to it.
I beg your pardon? Yeah.
No, I couldn't see the wheel move.
I beg your pardon?
I didn't see it move. If I did, I didn't observe it moving. If it moved, it moved. I didn't observe it moving. I wasn't looking at the wheel.
When was the first time you saw that video?
Listen,
I don't really know. It's been a little while,
Well, I don't know what a little while means.
like a year ago, I think.
a year ago.
So you saw that video a year ago. Did you put anything about that video in your report, which is wherever it is, right here? I'm looking at your entire CARS report. Did you put anything in this CARS report about watching that video?
No, because I watched the video like after the report was done, and I watched it first time on court TV. So
So he saw this video after his report was already done, but he didn't think it was important to go back and, add it to his report. But the first time he ever saw this video is not because he was being shown it by Mr. Lally or any of his cohorts or anybody at the MSP. He saw this video for the first time on court TV. Yes, folks. This is what happened. Here we go.
So who on court TV during this trial?
like
Prior hearing.
when it was on TV at some point.
When did you and Mr. Lally have a discussion about you testifying about this video?
That was a couple weeks ago.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
A couple of weeks ago.
What's a couple of weeks ago? Is it 10 days ago?
Days ago, 2 weeks ago. I mean, 2 weeks ago. Couple,
Okay.
two,
Where did you two meet?
at the DA's office.
Was that at your request or was that at Mr. Lowley's request?
It was a pre-conference hearing, or pre-trial hearing,
Right. Well, those
or
are
pre-trial conference. Sorry.
done.
So, yes,
We're talking over each other. I'm trying not to talk over each other.
I'm trying not either.
Let's both try harder.
Okay.
AJ was getting mad. He was getting mad. I don't think he watched it during the trial. I think it may have been like one of those times. I don't know. Wasn't Sean McDonough on Court TV once, like before the trial started, talking about the taillight theory and showing that video on Court TV? Maybe that's where this witness saw it. He said about a year ago, so I don't think it was during the trial.
Who set up the meeting?
For my pre-trial,
Yes.
okay,
Paul.
Adam Lally.
Who was at the meeting?
Right, sitting right here, Lieutenant Tully.
Tully's at all the
Lieutenant
meetings.
Tully, you, Adam Lally, Laura McLaughlin. I'm guessing Miss Gilman was not there.
She was not there, correct?
Did Mr. Lally show you this video at that meeting?
Yes,
Did he tell you that he intended to ask you some questions about this video at that meeting?
yes,
Did he ask you whether or not you could render an opinion as to whether or not the impact that you saw or lack thereof, whatever the case may be, was consistent or inconsistent with damage to the taillight?
yes,
Did you tell him that you would give him such opinion if called upon at trial?
yes.
Did anybody take any notes?
I don't know.
Were you taking notes?
Yes,
Where are those notes?
Took notes.
I think I just, well, no, it's not on this specifically, but just, make sure I had, my everything checks and balance. And for what I want to talk about, what we're going to talk about.
Make sure you had what?
Make sure we had checks and balances for everything that we were going to talk about.
My checks and balances, sorry.
Checks and balances.
Just make sure I'm more on the same page of what we understand what's going on in the trial.
You want to make sure that you're on the same page with Mr. Lally about what's going on in trial. Right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Is that telling? What, to make sure that we're on the same page with Mr. Lally? So I took notes to make sure that I say what he wants me to say, and I mention all the things he wants me to mention. It's not looking good for this guy.
Did Mr. Lally take notes?
I have no idea.
You were watching him. I mean, was he writing something down?
I wasn't paying attention to his note taking.
Miss McLaughlin was there. Was she taking notes?
I don't know.
You didn't see her either?
I don't know if people were taking notes, writing stuff down, or what they're writing stuff down in relation to our conference.
Did you give him an opinion? We've asked whether or not you were asked to give an opinion, and you said, yes, 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 I was.
Yep.
Did you give an opinion at that meeting about whether or not you believe, in your opinion, the contact between the SUV and the Traverse, the Lexus and the Traverse, could result in the damage to the taillight,
Yes.
What did you tell him in the meeting?
What we talked about already in the stand here.
Okay. So what you related to him was exactly what you've relayed in this court.
Yes.
And he asked you, he told you that he was going to ask, I'm going to ask you to look at the video, correct?
Yes.
You're going to be asked a series of questions about that video, correct?
He told me the video and he said, okay, this is the video. This is what they think the taillight was broken. And these are the pictures of his car that they take. So they asked my opinion on, do you think that's where a taillight would be broken?
And he said, and he told you, you need to make sure that you tell the jurors that couldn't have happened in this impact, right?
He didn't tell me that to make sure jurors, that's my opinion on, it doesn't appear to happen in that video.
Did he tell you that it would be helpful to the prosecution if you said that it would be, that it was inconsistent with the taillight break?
Objection.
Okay.
I'm going to allow it.
Yeah,
Did he tell you it
my
would be
dear.
helpful to the case if you said that?
of course.
No,
But you knew it would be, right?
I'm just stating what I saw on my professional opinion on what it is.
Professional opinion.
If it looked like it was consistent, I would say it's consistent. If it wasn't consistent, it's not consistent. I'm not going to.
I'm sure that's what you would say.
Okay, so comments are not appropriate for the jury. They're also not very good for me, Mr.
And the jury wasn't there.
Did you formalize your new opinion? Because this is a new opinion, right? You've never been asked this opinion before.
Yes.
Did you formalize this new opinion in any kind of report or memorialize it in any way?
No.
Did Mr. Lally ask you to create a report of some sort that you could then turn over to the defense so that we would know that you have a new opinion that you're going to testify about?
No.
Did you save those notes that you took about making sure that you were on the same page as Mr. Lally?
That's, I mean, yeah, I saved mine.
Where are they?
They're my report.
They're in your report?
Yeah, as I was writing a report, I just kind of like highlighted stuff that I want to make sure I memorize and remember my report.
I want to make sure I
I'm talking about
memorize.
notes specific-
I want to make sure I memorize and remember my report. He understood the assignment, at least, even though they're trying to, weasel this testimony in last minute, just sort of like, mosey it on in there at the last minute when he was never asked to opine about this video before. But he saw it on court TV and thought he'd bring it up with Lally and be like, hey, listen, if you want me to talk about that video, I could say that there's no way the taillight could break from that impact.
Specifically about this video, seeing this video and rendering a new opinion about this video.
No, I didn't have notes specifically about this video. I didn't write anything down saying I must do this on this video.
I must do this. I must do that.
Did
Don't
you write
forget this.
anything down about the new opinion that you would come up with related to this video?
No, I did not.
I'm just moving on.
Here's the thing, Alex. He's not even an expert. He's not officially an
And your
expert.
opinion, ultimately, that you imparted to Mr. Lally in that meeting was that the car did not move and the snow did not move, correct?
Correct.
He's not an expert. He's a
All
trooper
right. Did you want to follow up at all, Mr. Lally?
who happened to
No,
do
thank
the
you.
All
reconstruction.
right. So, Trooper, you are all set for today. We will see you Monday morning.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, watch this. Watch this stare of death as he looks at Jackson on the way out. This is crazy. Hang on. I mean, it's like, watch when they look at each other. Oh, yeah. The
All right.
glare.
So you're moving to exclude this. I'll hear you, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, it's very clear that this is a blatant discovery violation. Commonwealth has at least the obligation to provide us with any new opinions that any expert is going to testify to on direct examination. They've known about this witness for not months, for a year, for a couple of years. They've known exactly what this witness has memorialized in his official report. They knew that the only thing that we had was the official report. They met with him 2 weeks ago. This has become a pattern of conduct by the Commonwealth over and over and over. We're finding these witnesses getting on the stand, finding out that there's been a sort of preemptive strike in some sort of a prep interview where they're coming up with new opinions, new conclusions, new facts. It happened with Jennifer McCabe. This new fact about coming up, going to Michael Lank's house.
Mhm.
It happened with Officer Sarah, coming up with a new determination about what was said or not said at the scene that we had never heard before. That was also a prep session of some sort, or I believe it was. And then this witness, literally, it's not even like just, was it light out or was it dark out? This is a completely new opinion based on evidence that we presented, both in or talked about in opening statement and have presented variously throughout this trial. And this officer gets on the stand and now has a new central opinion about whether or not
Preach.
we're right and that taillight lens could be cracked. That's something that should have at least been reduced to writing. And even if it was reduced to writing, it
100%.
should have been excluded because it's,
Right.
it's a discovery violation. It's late. We don't have time to prepare for it, and we're caught off guard. I use
Yeah.
the word at sidebar ambush, and I know that rankles the court, and the court doesn't like it, but that's exactly what it feels
Well,
like.
that's been used both ways here, right? So it's a word, let's just take it out of here. Make your point, okay?
Yep.
I'll see if I can come up with a synonym for it.
Well,
I feel like I'm
understand
taking-
I understand your argument. So focus on, just continue where you were, but No comment whether I like ambush or don't like ambush. It's a word I've heard a lot on both sides.
I understand, Your Honor. My point is the evidence that now is being sought should never be presented in front of a jury. We didn't have opportunity to get this in advance. This has, it's at least, very least, been in the Commonwealth's possession for weeks. He took notes about it. He now says, well, I didn't take notes about that specifically. I don't believe that as far as I can throw him. I think he did take notes about it. He was shown the video. He provided a new opinion. Mr. Lally knew that he was providing a new opinion. And then the first time he discloses this opinion is in front of the 16 jurors.
I love this comment.
We would ask for its exclusion, Your Honor.
I love this comment. Elijah, am I counting the minutes to tomorrow? To cross tomorrow? Yes. Yes, I am. Mike Nem says, Mike and him, sandbagging. That's a better word than ambush, but sandbagging is exactly what it is.
And I'll submit.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Oh, listen to this.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now,
as the-
now he's gonna get all uppity. This is gonna get all uppity. Lally's gonna get all uppity. So if you haven't, this is the most excited Lally's ever been during the how many 25 was this day 25? How many weeks of trial that we've seen? This is the most animated you will ever see him get. You're gonna see it here. Ready? Go.
Pattern, especially.
Lally.
Oh, he's
Yes, Your Honor.
see how he grabbed
As
that
far as
mic.
the pattern, especially coming from counsel, I simply find it laughable. As far as
Laughable.
Officer Sarif,
Laughable. You find it laughable, Lally. Okay. Tell us why.
I think what counsel is referring to was testimony that was in his grand jury testimony. It was crossed about whether or not it was in his report, but it was in his grand jury testimony. As far as Ms. McCabe is concerned, that was regarding reciprocal discovery that was given to the Commonwealth weeks into trial by the defendant. It was then shown to a witness, which is perfectly permissible. Counsel asked a question of Ms. McCabe on cross, and she was aware of the material based on the late disclosure of reciprocal discovery. So there's no violation there. As it relates to, and why I say laughable, Your Honor, is that I am still
I don't like hearing you say laughable. Just
understood.
stick to what the arguments are. And
With
quit
respect to this,
That was the best. I don't like hearing you say laughable. We don't like hearing you say anything, but I don't like hearing you say laughable because there's nothing that has been more of a circus or laugh or joke than this entire prosecution. Your entire case has been laughable. So how dare you say anything else is laughable while we've been suffering through 25 days of laughable presentation of a case. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
this
Well,
witness.
hold on. Quit the finger pointing, name calling, things like that,
Great.
please. I
Yes.
know it's been a long week. It's been a particularly long day, but just focus on what you want to argue to me.
Right on, sis.
And I apologize to the court for that, Your Honor.
Preach,
with
sis.
respect to this testimony, it's well within his realm as a crash reconstructionist. This is a witness who's responded to and investigated hundreds of crashes involving damage to vehicles.
Hundreds. No.
Simply making
196 to be exact. And about 55 of them were pedestrian knockdowns. So hundreds. No. Don't hyperbolize. Don't.
an observation of contact between two vehicles or purported contact between two vehicles on a video. The force is self-evident, and whether or not that force is sufficient to cause the damage that he personally observed on the defendant's vehicle is well within his expertise. And should be permissible as far as for this witness to be able to testify to.
What about the non-disclosure to the defense?
Yeah, what about that?
Showing this video and asking for an opinion.
Right. Sandbagging them.
So, Your Honor, what I would say is I did not show this video and ask this opinion. This is a video that actually the trooper mentioned to me that he had seen over the course of while the case was pending probably over a year ago, that he had seen that video. What I showed him was the photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle and asked whether or not he observed any damage consistent with the damage to the taillight observing or popping up on Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle.
So, okay. So let me get this straight. Trooper Paul comes in for his prep and he brings it to your attention That's exactly what he's saying. He brought it to my attention that he wanted to talk about this video. So, you know, it wasn't me sandbagging you. You know, he just brought it up. But again, you didn't disclose it to the defense. He saw this video a year ago. You exchanged his report, you know, who knows how long ago, and now this is a totally new opinion about something that this witness clearly wants to talk about. And, you know, so we should just let him do it. She cannot let this in. It would be highly prejudicial. Incredibly late disclosure. And no, it should not come in, especially because they're almost wrapping their case here. Hopefully. There's been 65 witnesses. We have seen 65 witnesses, I think, and we still do not have a cause of death for Officer John O'Keefe. Okay? What we have heard is a whole bunch of people saying it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. So therefore, their end result is going to be, so Karen Reed must have done it.
In hindsight, it should have been, Your Honor.
Should have been exchanged, Your Honor. In hindsight. 2020. Hindsight's
So
2020.
it's late.
Ally.
I'm not ruling here. I want to review everything. I would like, I'm not obviously taking any of the evidence home with me. I would like, if it's possible, for what your IT person did on the expanding, like he did this second time, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see the tire move this time. So I'd
Yeah, it
like
did.
that. I'd like that video, and I would like, what's the exhibit number here?
It's Exhibit 6. Do you want just that video, Your Honor?
And the pictures of the cars, whatever was shown during this voir dire, I would like those emailed to me so that I can look at them this weekend while I'm deciding, or put them on a flash drive right now.
That's what I'm thinking.
He said he saw it a year ago on Court TV.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We'll do a screen record and get it to the court by email. We can do that. I just need an hour once we get back to home base.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gilman, will you burn what you have for me before we leave somehow?
Your Honor, if I could, I just want to close one loop.
Okay.
Yeah,
What I
close
was
the loop.
referring to with Ms. McCabe, I want to make sure that this is clear because this has come up a couple of times.
Listen to
The
this.
only thing I was referring to, or what I was referring to, it's not the only thing, but what I was referring to with Ms. McCabe is after Ms. McCabe testified, days and days and days after she testified and she was excused as a witness, then we got the report from Lieutenant Tully about the new information that she disclosed on the witness stand. In other words, she was cross-examined about it, et cetera. And then after she testified and was cross-examined and gone, then we got a report that predated her testimony.
Wow.
It's in the possession of the Commonwealth, or at least in the possession of the
Crap.
That's what I was talking about. I just want to make sure that that's clear. We don't need to go into it any further.
Did you want to add anything to that, Mr. Lally?
And now we all know.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, no, you don't,
All
because
right.
you know you did that.
So I'll see you Monday morning.
You know you did that. After Jen McCabe was excused from the stand, then they turned over some report from Tully that was taken, you know, God knows when. And she's already done testifying, but then they turn it over. Oops. And that was it. That was my exciting day in the courtroom
You are
in
unmuted.
Norfolk County Superior for the trial of Karen Reed. And guess what, you guys? We did it. We did it. Oh, well, it's mirrored. I think it's mirrored, but look, we're at 50,000. 50,007. 50,000. You guys, we did it. We broke 50K tonight. We're at 50,014. Woohoo! You guys are amazing. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. We're not even a year old and we just hit 50K 2 nights because of all of you very kind and generous people. We did it. Thank you, Armand. Thank you. We did it. Thanks, Kelly. Woo-hoo-hoo. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button because we're making history here and you're going to be a part of it. Back to my amazing super chatters. Some guy with cancer. Again, thank you for the 5, but I am still sorry about your cancer. Paul wasn't giving his opinions. He was stating that his idea was the only way it could have happened because the physics worked differently in Massachusetts. Yes. And he's not technically an expert witness. He's not. He's a trooper who was tasked with reconstructing this accident. And in my opinion, did a poor job. All right, Kaya Chewy. I can't read what that says, but love to Melanie from Germany. Thank you from Germany. Love right back to you. Lindsay Tyler, thank you so much for your super chat. So you currently need 125 service hours to be a hairdresser in Massachusetts, yet only 120 hours experience in anything to be considered an expert by the Massachusetts court. make it make sense. Well, he's not. That's what I'm saying. He is not being, he's not technically, he hasn't been recognized by the court as an expert witness. He is a trooper who did a reconstruction for the Commonwealth, but he's not technically an expert. So there is a difference there. It's slight. It seems unknown, but he is not technically an expert that is hired by the Commonwealth for purposes of this litigation. I mean, Lennon, thank you for the 20. I actually feel bad for him, not trained enough, drew the short straw, and probably pressured and has to follow Proctor and Tully. Already incredible. He was told where to look and led. Yeah, just like a lot of the witnesses we're seeing, I think, will not stand up to the cross. No, but I feel like he really wants to be helpful. I feel like he wants to be helpful. I think that came across. Look, I saw this in the video. Maybe I can help you some more. Maybe I can testify about that too. He wants to be helpful. Maybe he wants to be the hero in all this. I don't know, but the case is not going great for the Commonwealth, in my opinion. Double Trouble, thank you for becoming a member. Yay. Match DC, thank you so much for the very generous $50 super chat in honor of my father who would have loved you and your channel. Tom W. Reed, no relation. Oh, thank you, Match DC, and blessings to your father. May he rest in peace. Almost 50K subscribers shows how outstanding you and your coverage really are. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. Thanks, Elle, for being a member for 5 months and says really enjoying following you. And I'm really enjoying that you're here following me and gifting a membership too. And congrats to whoever got it. Christine, thank you so much, AKA K-Fan. Thanks for the 10. Hi, Melanie. Did you go by 34 Fairview when you were in town? I did not. I went by a couple of weeks ago. It gives a completely different perspective. The lawn isn't that deep. That's what I've heard. I've heard that from everyone I know who has gone to see it. And the jury was there, remember, during the first week of trial. So they've seen it too, and it'll give them a better perspective. Cousin Farm, thank you for the 5. When Proctor was on cross, Jackson mentioned the mile walk through the trees to the school. Proctor never got the camera footage. I bet defense does. Oh, because the hypothesis, what I got from that was based on Allie McCabe's Life 360 data. She was in and around the high school. And somebody in the chat once said that those railroad tracks go to the high school, or he could have walked the railroad tracks to the high school. That's interesting. He doesn't say anything without receipts. We know that much about Alan Jackson so far, don't we? Lori Life 360 for the win. Thank you for gifting 10 memberships. You are so very kind and generous as always. Hand waving and speed mumbling, says Ruby. Thanks, Ruby, for the super chat. Teresa Kaufman, thank you so much for the 20. As Teresa in the chat said, if she was traveling at 24 miles an hour at impact and slowed to 23 miles per hour in reverse, how far did the vehicle travel after he was hit? Wouldn't it have hit the mailbox in the Jeep? Don't you think? Don't you think? But he hit his head on the curb, according to this witness, and then was projected 10 feet onto the lawn, but his shoe came off at the curb. And therefore, why put all the pieces on the taillight on the drone diagram? Because they're not really important. All of it was hypothetical. All of it was speculative because nobody ever measured where Officer John O'Keefe's body was found. They just didn't do it. Nationally 66, watch. It does light up anymore. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the taillight, that it does light up. Yep. I think that's what you're talking about. Kim Krause, thank you for the 10. Did someone early on testify that when they were trying to get it out, it broke into a bunch of pieces? Yes, yes, yes. One of the first officers from Canton PD, I think it was a Canton police officer who said, yeah, we were trying to get the taillight out and it broke into a bunch of pieces. I know I've been meaning, Kim, to go back and find that testimony. If anybody knows who testified to that, let me know. Maureen, Duffy, was it hot in the courtroom? Not so much. It was pretty good in the morning, but then in the afternoon, after we got the torrential rain, it got a little bit humid and some of the jurors were like fanning themselves by the end of the day. I think they were ready to go. So it got a little more warm in there by the end of the day, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because it was a beautiful day that day. Low humidity in the morning, beautiful sunny. I showed the video in the beginning. It was a really nice day for justice. It was a beautiful day for justice. Mandolin Wynn, thank you for the 20. You're Our Lady. Or dismissed jurors allowed to discuss the case publicly? How is Liza Little doing? I did. When we had lunch together, I said, everyone thinks that I'm like your mother or something. So we had a laugh over that we are not related. Common name. Are they allowed to discuss? I don't know. That's a great question in Massachusetts. Every jurisdiction is different. I don't know if she's allowed to discuss the case until the case is over, but that is an excellent question. If I have any Massachusetts attorneys in the chat, please help. Is the dismissed juror allowed to talk about the case before the case is over? We need to know. Love you. Love you right back, Mandolin Wind. Steve, thanks for the 5. If you can't dazzle him with brilliance, baffle him with BS. Lally to expert witness 2024. Charlie Lynn, thanks for gifting a membership. You're so generous, Charlie, every time we meet. Joanne, thank you for the 5. I watched a video from 2 years ago, a couple of hearings into the case, and David Yannetti said at court they have pictures of Karen Reed's car before it was towed. David Yannetti said that he has the pictures? Well, that's interesting. I don't remember that from any of the hearings we watched together, but that's interesting. Joanne, thank you for that. Summer Golden, thanks for Super Chat. Do you think there will ever be justice for John? I don't know. What does that look like? What does it look like? This investigation was bungled from day one. From day one. Unless an eyewitness comes forward and there's some other forensic evidence tying somebody else to whatever happened. I honestly don't know. Steve Kelsey, thank you so much. New theory. This is season 2 of Jury Duty with special guest Jackson and Yannetti coming this fall to Netflix. I love that show so much. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. It's a show where a guy goes into for jury duty and he thinks he's on jury duty and he thinks they're making a documentary about his jury duty. And everybody else involved in the case, all the lawyers, all the jurors, all the judge, everyone in the courthouse, they're all actors. And it's great. It's like a candid camera type show, but it's funny and it's heartwarming. And oh my gosh, what's the name of that actor that plays himself? Is like the biggest D-bag version of himself. James Marsden, and he's on jury duty too with them. Oh, it's so funny. So funny. Watch it. But I don't think they could ever do that again because it's already been done. So they should have thought about that before they released it, because they can never do that again. They'll have to do something similar, but it can't be a jury duty thing. Lisa, thank you so much. Only 2 key cycles make 0 sense. I'm so that whole testimony, that whole line of testimony, he wanted to sound really smart, but I just don't think it's going to fly. And I can't wait to see the defense experts, refute that. Alex says, thank you from Canada. I've listened in the past few weeks to various commentators, and I must say you have the best overall knowledge of this travesty. Oops, I mean trial. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. And thank you for watching. Emmy Lennon, thanks for the 10. I missed who drove her car to Dighton, but what if they stopped for a coffee or something? That would change it. That's a great point. I do not think Karen drove it. I don't know if it was her brother or her dad who was with her. I'm not sure. That's a great point. Double Trouble 247. Tow truck driver got stuck in the driveway in front of Mr. Reed's garage. Thank you for the 5. Yeah, I remember that. And the snow was very deep, but it wasn't waist deep like they said. But you're right. Amanda Capone, thanks for the 5. Remember, the defense was trying to have an expert get info from the black box. Did they ever do that? Remember how long that took? I'm going to assume that they did, and that they have an expert who's going to show that Trooper Paul's testimony may not be 100% accurate. I would think that's what their expert will say. Thank you so much, Orida. So Boston police are all medical experts too. Yes, they've all been able to testify about injuries and medical issues and what they think caused them. And there's been so much testimony in this case that should not have been allowed in, but nobody asked me. I definitely don't think this stuff should be allowed in. True, Paul. We'll see how she rules in the morning. But we're here for it together tomorrow morning, 8:45. Don't be late. Charlie Lynn, thanks for the 5. Keep in mind that he would be facing the SUV while it careened towards him, right? Then his arm shattered the taillight, but there were no bruises on his arm. No, but the taillight lacerated his arm, apparently. It just makes no sense. I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to say. Was this a double sow cow or a double loop, Suzanne? And that, my friends, thanks, Suzanne, is a figure skating reference, I imagine. Dreamer Thinker, thanks for the 10. Lally was fighting to keep himself awake during his direct. So happy you got to go. Thanks, Sweet Tea's Treasure, for your super chat. And Johnny, not if you buffed out the scratch before taking the picture. Then it wouldn't show any damage. That's right, Johnny. Thanks for the 5. Melanie, hey Dickie, thank you so much for gifting 10 memberships. You're amazing and generous, and thank you so very much. Gotta Bruin, take one class and you're an expert. Yeah, 40 hours and 40 hours and 40 hours. That was like 120 hours. And this guy wants everyone to believe that everything he says is exactly how it happened. Loquaria, thank you for becoming a member. Sons 107, thank you for the 5. I'm a structural engineer. It is strengths of materials. Easy answer. I don't build buildings out of plastic. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, girl power. Girls in engineering. More girls need to go into engineering. Mom's a 4. Thanks for your super sticker. Jess. Melanie's at 49.9. Hit that subscribe button, y'all. Let's get her to 50K. We're over it now. We're over it. We are at 50,058. You guys are awesome. I love you all so much. Canvas and Crime, thanks for the 20. I have a question. When she was backing and hit John O'Keefe's vehicle, I would think if her reverse sensors were working, she would have heard the beeping and, in my opinion, have instinctively hit her brakes. Has this vehicle been tested? Yeah, he says he tested it. So they tested it and they were working. But again, there's snow. She could have braked and slid into the car, right? I mean, we've heard enough about the weather to know that it was snowing, and we see the snow in the driveway. So even if she did brake, she may have still slid. That's a great question. Charlie Lynn, don't forget, they didn't disclose Chloe's location. That's right. That's one other thing that they didn't do. They said they didn't know where Chloe was. And then Nicole Albert got on the stand and said, I know exactly where Chloe is. She's in Vermont. I drove halfway to meet the woman. Never told that to the defense either. Thank you, Z. Like Andrea Burkhart said, ambush is stated in law. Thank you. I don't know what that refers to, but if Andrea said it, I'll take her word for it. Future, thanks for year 2. Congrats on 50K. Well deserved, Melly. Thank you. Wouldn't it be so cool if we did like a lady law tubers kind of stream with like Natalie, Andrea Burkhart, who else do you watch? Emily Baker, but she's so famous. She might not have time for us. That would be really cool. Alita, right? Tell me some other lady lawyer. Oh, Ali Mata. How could I forget my personal favorite, Ali Mata? It's like my own personal Catherine Zeta-Jones. Thank you, DK, for the 10. Congrats on 50. You had me at Costner. That was my first live that I ever did was on Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner's divorce, and I thought there's going to be 3 people on my live, and it turned out being really, really great because Duty Ron sent all his people over, and we had so much fun. Solomon Landscaping, thank you for the 5. Hope you enjoyed your visit to good old Dedham, Mass. Thank you, and congrats on 50K. Thank you. Thank you all for making it possible because you keep this channel running. Otherwise, I'd be screaming at my TV and throwing things at it. But you make me laugh, and we keep each other sane, right? Thanks, Melissa Laurie, for being a member for 2 months and for thanking me for all that and for loving the chat and the mods. And Mystique is a new member. Thanks, Mystique. I thought you were a new member. David Grillo, thanks for becoming a member. Lizika, thanks for being a member for 4 months. Auntie Deb of the fabulous TikTok parodies was on Mazza Media's channel this evening. I'm headed there when we are done. That's awesome. And also, Auntie Deb started a YouTube channel, put all the stuff up on YouTube, so we don't have to go to TikTok for that anymore. It's right on YouTube. Maybe we'll watch some of those tomorrow. I think Auntie Deb said we could. Ben George, thanks for the 10. If he wound up in the yard and lost his shoe at the curb, she would have to be going perpendicular to the curb, right? So that his foot would get caught between the wheel and the curb. Make it make sense. Weren't there snowbanks from the plows? How did she stop and not back into the bank? Well, no, there was no snowbanks at the time she allegedly would have hit him which they're saying is 12:45 because there was only about 2 inches of snow. But why didn't they see the sneaker in the morning when there was only about 2 inches of snow? Makes no sense that they found the sneaker after 20 more inches of snow fell. You're right, Ben. None of it makes sense to me. Cindy Wiggleworth, thank you. When it snows, my backup camera is almost all white. That's right. Sometimes it does interfere when it snows with the backup camera. You're 100% right. Or you can't see and it doesn't work properly. You're right. That's a great point. Ginetta, how'd you feel about this guy doing reconstruction or diagnostics before forensics did her swabbing and testing? Is that what he testified to? I need to go back and watch that again because that would be insane if he's outside going back and forth in the driveway outside the Sally port and then she came in and did her picking the glass off the bumper thing. I have to go back because I can't remember which came first, the chicken or the egg. Harmonica says, I feel responsible for the prosecution using this theory as I blew up the 3-point turn, explaining in detail on Law and Crime why it absolutely can't work. I think they read it. Wait, were you on Law and Crime, Harmonica? We have you to blame for this? No. Or were you just in the chat talking about it, or you put a comment in there? That's interesting. Don't feel responsible. Lauren, wouldn't they have had to have the data for every keystroke ever recorded, along with the vehicle's entire drive history to prove keystrokes matched up with the no date and timestamps? No? Yes. Yes, I would say that too. Thanks, Nancy Joe. Love this cupcake represented in court. Amazing. It was amazing. It was so much fun and so cool. All right. Let us see. Thank you to John, who says this trooper is no expert. And somebody who's lallied out says, I enjoy your knowledge and bought me a matcha latte. Kate sends a Venmo, says, shout out to my mom, Teresa. Hello, Teresa. Kate's mom, we love what you do. We miss you so much on Friday. I know. I'm sorry. I went to court and it was secret. And that's what I did. But I was there for you, and I did it so that I could come and report back to you. And Jamie, I'm sorry, Janine, thank you, says, don't know how to do super chats, but wanted to thank you for your awesome coverage of this case. My husband and I watch you every night. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to take a picture with you. How can I send you the picture? fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. We'll look at the pictures tomorrow before court. That'll give us something to do while the fan is up. And yes, we will do that. And to all of you who sent me emails saying it was great to meet you, thank you for sending the pictures. I will show them tomorrow. And to Michelle, thank you for your Venmo, for your beautiful picture. And says, my favorite 2 moments, David Yannetti telling you that his sister and mom watch your stream, Alan Jackson and the vacation discussion. Thanks for all that you do for Karen Reed. Oh, Michelle, you're so sweet. You are so sweet. All of you are so amazing. And Maureen Francis for the Cash App. You are great. Justin and Angela, who said it was so nice to meet me on Friday. And thank you, Angela, so much. Your Karen Reed coverage has been amazing. Hope you like the cupcake candle. Wait, I have it. I showed it before. I'm not sure which one it is. When I first pulled it out, I showed which one it was. You're amazing, Angela. Thank you so much for your beautiful card and your beautiful gift. And I also got a cupcake in a jar. I'm not sure who gave me that, but that was amazing. It was delicious. She says, I'm the best. No, you're the best. No, you are. You are. You are. All right. So, my friends, we are going to be back here tomorrow. I'm going to set up the stream. Make sure you're subscribed and you hit the bell so you'll know when I go live so you don't miss it. And Gina, thank you for the 10 and says she loves my insight. Thank you. Retired Grancy. It says, Emily loves you. Reminder, Neurospicy. So reach out. Yeah, I did. I wrote her an email a long time ago, but I don't know because we have the Dave Matthews thing in common that we both love Dave. So maybe she didn't get the email, or maybe like somebody reads her emails, or maybe who knows? She has people for that. Probably. I will. Thank you, Retired Grancy. And if you guys are in her chat, like put a bug in her ear, maybe she'll do it. And it would be so cool. It doesn't matter. We can do that every now and then with the cursey words. I don't mind going on other channels of other people who use the cursey words. That's fine with me. I don't do it on my own channel because my viewers have come to expect that from me, and I'm here for you because we hit 50K tonight, and it's all because of you. Thank you, John Duncan, for gifting 5 memberships, and that is amazing. So, my friends, remember, thank you. No, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go. But we're going to come back in the morning. Look, it's only 11, like 9.5 hours away. 9.5 hours away. All right. So we're going to be right back here, but we have to get some sleep because look, I got bags under my eyes and they're not carry on. They're not carry on bags. All right. We need to, thank you for thanks to my moderator. We need to thank the moderators. Thank you, moderators. You are amazing. You are the best moderators on YouTube, and you are the reason that people come here and feel so safe in this chat. And People who have never chatted before on live streams ever feel comfortable chatting in this chat because of you. You guys are amazing. My members are amazing. My subscribers are amazing. My viewers, my reviews, I love you all so very much, and I will see you soon. And as I say at the end of every stream, my friends, remember, be cool, be kind, be classy. It is not hard. It is so not hard. Promise you, you will be a better person for it. Remember to breathe. I will see you in the morning for another full day of coverage. Full days, Monday, Tuesday, no court Wednesday because it's a holiday. Full day Friday, a full day Thursday, half day Friday. Got it? Okay. I think I was right about that. There's Melly. There's Melly. Melly's Vinnie Politan's moderator. I go in there sometimes and tease. Tell him he needs to have me on his YouTube show. What is up, Melly? You know, they asked me to come on Court TV the day that I was traveling to Dedham, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, I'm traveling. And they only gave me like a half hour's notice, so I couldn't come on. But I wonder who we had instead of me. Who was on Vinny's show from the 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock hour about Karen Reed on Thursday night? Anybody know? No. Okay. Peace out, everyone. I'll see you real soon in the morning. Good night, everyone.